have been pretty cool to drug the cat.
Alright everyone, we'll get started in just a second. I'm just gonna press the buttons and hopefully everything works perfectly. Welcome in. Hey, good to see you there, Andrew. Good to see you, Mr. Burnsy, Slayer King. Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you, Proton Fig, and Sunmilk, and Bo Alving. Hello, hello. Damage Plushy, welcome in. Let me welcome in Finamenon here, a awesome Twitch partner and retro streamer. Welcome, Finn. Good to see you.
Yo, how's it going?
Good. You're muted. Hang on. Oh wait, hang on. Is that good? No, I think that's good. I think we're good. Did everybody hear Finn?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. Sorry,
okay.
I just thought I was looking at my channels and I forgot that I set it up in a weird way. It's fine. Everything's perfect.
It's fine.
Yeah.
You're not a streamer unless you have tech issues every single night.
or you have to think you have a tech issue, right? So everybody,
that too.
I just wanted you to say hello to Finamenon here. We got a cool podcast action tonight, and Finamenon is a retro Twitch streamer focusing on some, well, I would say like console games for the most part, but definitely branching out to other kinds of retro streams as well. Mirror flipping.
I was looking off at nothing and it was confusing me.
You know what? I hadn't thought of that. Thank you for thinking of that. I appreciate it. All right. So yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about your channel and what you do over there?
Oh, yeah, sure. So my channel is just utter nonsensical chaos, but 99% of the time, not really, but you know, it kind of is. Retro games mostly. Like,
right.
So like that's kind of like the content. Like I go retro games, I go RPGs, I go indie games sometimes. But like the real secret is that I'm not really a retro streamer. I'm mostly like a community chatting streamer, and the games are just kind of the backdrop. They're like the icebreaker, the conversation piece. Because I tend to run my channel more conversation focused than anything. So I always have questions of the night, you know, like topics to talk about, things to ask people, because you know, I realized when I started streaming that I did it because I liked hanging out with people.
Yeah.
Not because I necessarily just wanted to play games. Like anybody can do that, right? Anybody can just play a game.
Oh yeah.
But like including others in doing that, and then like being included in that is what really draws me. So I facilitate that more than anything.
Yeah. All right, so I just had to remember to actually disable all the alerts and stuff while you were talking there. So thanks for doing the intro. It gave me a chance to do that. All right.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Speaking of redemptions, I was asked. I have a redemption on my channel to speak American. Talk American, damn it, is the name of the redemption.
Oh my god.
And I got to talk American for 5 minutes. I'm obviously Australian and not American, so excuse the accent, everybody. All right, so I wanted to ask you something that's been itching on my mind, because we talked about it a little bit, which was you were setting up a retro gaming PC, and I know you've done a couple of things with it, but how's that been going, and what's the plan there?
So like one of my mods like years ago approached me about getting a retro PC, and I wasn't really interested initially. One, because I didn't have space at the time. I was like, where am I going to put a third tower? Because I run a 2PC setup, right, Mog? You going to join us?
Hello, Cat. This is
he
Mog.
Hears me talking. When I start talking, he's up here.
Perfect.
Smacking the microphone, you know, being a goofy little gremlin.
How many cats do you have?
Show.
Just the one?
Two.
You
I
have
got two. Yeah, Mog. This is Mog, and the other one's Lickety. She comes
Mog's
up here too.
More camera friendly.
I wouldn't say that, like, because when she gets up here, she'll stare right into the lens and freak everyone out. So he's just more like he doesn't care. He will just get in the way because what he's doing right now is trying to manifest treats.
Oh.
He's gonna stand at the edge of his desk and look down at the floor because that's where we keep the churros, and he'll just do that for like 30 minutes.
That's really cute. My cats don't really like to be in here when I'm streaming for some reason. I've tried. They always end up at the door waiting to get out.
Yeah, they want to be on his desk all the time. It's only when I'm busy too. If I'm just chilling, they don't care.
Lanny, thank you for the follow. I forgot to disable. I'm gonna pause the alerts. I forgot to do that. I said I would do all these things, and then I didn't do one of them. Anyway, I'm doing that now.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the follow. Anybody else who wants to do a follow or a subscription or anything else, just be aware that the alerts are paused, and they will play. I'll play them all after the podcast is done. So, just so you know. Welcome in anyway. All right, sorry about that, Finn. So the PC gaming.
Yeah. So like I was like, nah, I'm not really interested in that. Just because I remembered how annoying it was to set up like retro games back in the day. And like it's obviously it still is. It's like more so now. But like eventually I was like I started watching more people who did stuff like that, like yourself and Retro Island Gaming and I can't remember who else. There was somebody else that I was watching. I think it might have been Ash Said Hi. And I was like, okay, I do have nostalgia for some of these games because I didn't really own a PC until like 1999. So like I missed
Unreal Tournament
15 years of games basically for the most part, unless I was hanging out with my cousin who had like 3 computers in the 90s. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. How do you game without a computer?
Consoles. I mean, I had a whole bunch of them.
That's just how I grew up. My only console in my house was an Atari 2600, and well, that didn't really last too long.
I mean, I had one of those too, and it didn't get me into gaming at all. So I don't blame you. Like, I have no nostalgia for that system at all. Like, people are like, you ever want to stream Atari? I'm like, no. It doesn't do anything for me. But once I got a Nintendo, it was like a different world. It was a completely different world.
There are a few good Atari games, but not strong enough for me to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to stream that game.
Yeah, I'm not saying like it's a bad system. I'm just not interested in it. Like it just doesn't do anything for me.
We have to do probably sometime we should have a look at the Atari and like rank the games. That would be a fun thing to do.
Oh man,
yeah,
that's a tall order. There's a lot of games.
Oh yeah. The 2600 was a weird system for the number of games it had, but just like nothing really pushed it to the next level really in its heyday anyway. I know some homebrew devs have gone back to it and tried to push it a little harder, but yeah, it's interesting.
So yeah, like what was I saying? Oh yeah, the PC, right? Like initially I wasn't interested, and then it was like my mom. Then I was like, no, I reached out to my mom, like, hey, this might be on the cards now. What can we do? And so she started compiling like a parts list of like things I might want, you know, or because it was basically like, hey, what kind of games do you want to play on a retro PC? So I kind of gave her like a range, like year range, and we compiled a parts list from that.
Yeah. And
it was basically like anything from like mid 80s to late 90s. So it was a pretty broad range, but you can hit. Oh, was that your
that's time up. I can talk normally again. Anyway, sorry. Yeah.
All right, good.
So what games did you decide on? Like you were talking to your mod, and your mod was being super helpful from the sound of it, which is awesome. It's always great when moderators help out like that.
Yeah. So it was like I always wanted to try like some of the like gold box D&D games.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like what, late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, maybe like Ultimas, which I haven't touched yet. But I also wanted to replay some games that I did get to play, like Heroes of Might and Magic, Toon 3, Diablo 1, MechWarrior 2, like stuff like that. So we ended up
classics in that list, yeah.
With a really interesting and comprehensive solution. She set me up with a system with a Pentium 233.
Mm-hmm.
At which
like P2.
Let's see what else. Yeah, and then two graphics cards, which was kind of normal back then. There's an S3 Verge VGA card, and then there's also a 12 megabyte Voodoo 2 3D effects card in there as
That's
well.
an amazing build. Yes.
It's pretty nice. Yeah. There's a Sound Blaster 16 ISA card, which I still like ISA cards. I remember I had one back in the day that was really good. And then for hard drives, we technically have three. I technically have three because the hard drives are actually CF Flash that are converted to IDE. So one has DOS 6.3, one has DOS 7.1, and then the other has Windows 98 on it.
Oh, cool.
So if I just want to run like a Windows game, I just pull the flash cards out and pop the new one in when the system's off. Like instantly, it's a different install. It's really nice.
So it sounds like that system will do a very broad stretch of like retro PC, basically everything through the 90s.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like it's got 128 megs of RAM, which is kind of wild for the system. So it'll handle a lot of Windows stuff too.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. I'm still trying to work out what I want to build for my gaming. I've got XP machines. I got a couple of XP machines. I'm sort of building a better one because the ones I currently have I'm not super happy with. But like, yeah, looking at once I got that build done, I've got the DOS. I've got the 686, which is like pretty decent, but it's like not quite there. It's not quite the same range of games that you're covering there. So that's interesting. So what was the first game that you ended up streaming on that machine? Sounds like a beast.
Oh, that's a good question. What was it? I basically did like a DOS week. Like I just did a whole week of like different games.
Right.
I don't remember what the very first was, but the ones I tried were Ultima Underworld, Heroes of Might and Magic 2, Diablo 1, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, which was awesome.
Nice. Yeah,
that was really good.
I think
I'd never played that before.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good. I was really impressed. What else did we try? Oh yeah, my cat's murdering his bed again.
Oh, no.
What are you doing, goof? We tried stuff like that. I don't remember every game, but it was like 4 or 5 streams. Oh, yeah, I think I did System Shock as well.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did the first stage of System Shock.
Okay.
I liked it. I hated the controls, but
yeah, the controls are a little hard to get used to, I admit, but it's a cool game.
It was a good game.
So you did, like, obviously you tried each of those games. Did you finish any of them in that? Like, did you finish Fate of Atlantis or?
We got close to Fate of Atlantis, but I got stuck on some puzzle. Excuse me.
Okay.
I got stuck on some puzzle where he just keeps saying that it's a pile of rubble a million times. And it was just like, okay. I was literally on that for like 2 hours, and we're like, okay, we're gonna play something else.
Yeah, sometimes you got to move on from those kind of games. Like, I remember my first playthrough of that game was on stream. Many of the games, like, people associate me, I think, a lot with playing those kind of games, like those point-and-click adventures, but I played most of them on stream for the first time, because those are the ones I always thought, oh, I should play that, but I never did. Back in the day, like I was always just playing like Quake or something, or Doom or whatever, you know, FPS was currently hot. So yeah.
I think the key that made this system work for me is she found a steel frame horizontal case for it.
Ooh.
So I can set my like huge CRT on top of it, and it doesn't even bow. Like it's just like there's nothing.
Awesome.
So it fit on my desk. Like the only change really was that my CRT's a little higher now. That's it.
So that's sitting
perfect
there with your console gaming CRT on it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And did you get a PC CRT as well, or did you just like pipe it through to
It is a PC CRT.
Oh, it is.
So
Okay.
All of my consoles go through upscalers, either an OSSC or a RetroTink 5X. Every single one.
To VGA, like
they output HDMI to an HDMI matrix. That sends one signal to the capture card, so all viewers can see.
Yeah.
And it sends the other to an HDMI to VGA converter, so I can see it.
That's
so everything looks pristine on that CRT.
Yeah, I bet. What kind of CRT did you say it was?
It's called a ViewSonic Ultra Bright A90F Plus.
Okay. I know ViewSonic, but then Ultra Bright I'm maybe not that familiar with. But yeah, everything else I'm definitely not. But
it was not cheap.
Sorry, not cheap? Yeah.
No, it's a pretty good monitor. I have it at 0 brightness 100% of the time, and it's like super bright and not washed out either.
Yeah.
So it's a really nice tube.
I gotta bring in my Trinitron. I got a Sony Trinitron that I want to put it there, but I think this one looks better. It looks more retro.
That one's got a lower profile too. You don't need a lot of desk space for it.
Sorry, I'm just gonna.
I like that one. That one looks nice. I like that. Yeah, this one's flat panel. CRT. It's like 20 inches, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, the flat panel. The flat panel thing is pretty good. I do like that about CRTs, but sometimes I appreciate that curved, the slightly curved.
Yeah, I mean the
look.
curve is cool too.
Yeah,
but
I set up my. So have you ever tried to film your CRT?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the colors, like, they hardly ever look right? And it's, you know, there's like a lot of technical issues with getting the CRT filming done right.
The colors are mostly okay. It's just the frequency mismatch between the frame rate and the hertz of the display.
Yeah.
Because it's never going to display like a flat 60 hertz.
Yeah.
Like, it's always going to be like a little lower or higher than that.
Yeah. Because I was trying to shoot for exposure for the room and capture the Commodore 64 on its screen. I managed to get the sync okay, like ish. It was still a little bit of a horizontal band flowing, but it's like pretty stable looking. But the colors,
if it just looks like a roll bar, that's a neat effect.
Yeah. The problem was the colors were a little bit blown out.
Like I mean, that could just be the white balancing on the camera itself, and not like the CRT.
I was trying to set it to capture the room. So then, pointing at the CRT, like, I ended up, like, messing with the contrast and stuff on the CRT, looking at it in the monitor on the camera until I got it right. I ended up getting it pretty close in the end, I think. But, like, looking at it with my own eyes, it looked horrible. But looking at it in camera, it looked okay. So I was like, oh, I guess this is how I'll do it. Yeah.
I mean, you could always color grade it in post.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I could try that. Something I hadn't thought of trying. A little bit more work, perhaps.
Yeah. But yeah, she basically, like, she got me the part list. We went over everything. I said yes to whatever, no to whatever, right? And then it was like, okay, how much will these parts cost? So she tallied the cost, basically general, based on like eBay searches and whatnot. And I just sent her the money and she built it.
Okay.
So it was expensive to ship because of that steel case.
Yeah, I bet.
It's kind of heavy.
They're not light. They're definitely not light. I've stopped trying to move stuff like that around, like the country. Even like shipping locally here between cities is really expensive. So I just like, if I can't get a local for something that heavy, I just won't bother.
I mean, it was worth it because it's a lot of work and I didn't know how to build it. Like, I know how to build modern PCs, no problem, but retro stuff, like, you have to start getting into, like, auto exec files and IRQ and system conflicts, and it's just, like, I never had that skill set, and it would have taken me too long to really reasonably do it with how much I work on streaming.
That makes sense. Yeah, I've definitely lost a lot of information that I had back then when I was, like, fiddling with those things, and so sometimes when I'm trying to get these like machines up and running the way I want it takes a lot longer than I think it will, because I'm like, oh, that's right, I need to do that. Like, yeah. So, that's pretty cool though. I'm really I'm excited to hear more about, like, obviously I like talking about PC stuff, but I've been a big PC gamer my whole life, but you've got a hell of a collection that's not just PC stuff. So,
oh yeah,
what got you started with that?
So I started streaming like 7 years ago, right? Because for whatever reason, I was just like searching on Twitch like late 2015. I don't know what got me to try this specifically, but I started searching for games I played as a kid, especially games that sucked.
Specifically.
And I found this channel who was streaming speedruns of 7th Saga on the Super Nintendo, which is a really not good RPG.
Okay.
He had like 200 viewers. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And what's going on here? Like, people watch this stuff? And like, the more I started watching, the more I realized, hey, I want to do this too. So I just started streaming like retro games or whatever.
Nice.
Basically, just emulate it, right? Because I don't know what games I had at that point. Not many.
Yeah.
And then I learned that that person I was watching was actually streaming on a Super Nintendo, and that kind of blew my mind because I didn't know anything about it at the point. I'm like, how are you doing that?
Mm-hmm.
And he answered, he was kind enough to answer the whole like,
So you
oh,
started
it's been
down this
modded
rabbit
for
hole.
component video, and
Uh-huh.
it's plugged into this capture card, and there's like a splitter that also sends it to my old tube TV, and it was just like, wow, like I was blown away. So I started hyper fixating on that because I got ADHD. So I started learning about that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then like one day, it was a few months later, I was thinking about it. I'm like, if I want to do this, what would I even be able to play? And I went in my closet and found like an old small collection of PS1 games. There was like, I think like 10 or 12 of them. But they
This
were
is 7
pretty
years
like
ago still, ish.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So at that time, did you consider old PS1 games like retros, or were you not quite
Yeah.
sure if they're retro or yeah?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And there was like a good set there. There was like Final Fantasy 7, 8,
Nice.
7 and 9. There was like Star Ocean 2, Valkyrie, or not Valkyrie Profile, like some other stuff like Saga Frontier, Wild Arms, like just random like RPGs. I was like, oh wow, I do have stuff that I could play. And then I was watching this other channel, BGGO2, and he had to sell off most of his game collection when he moved like back home from like Canada. And so he set up this list to try to get all his old games back, and he ended up doing it. And I was kind of inspired by that, so I did it too. And it started building that way. Like people would either gift me games, or I could find a deal for them on, on like eBay, because I was working full time at that point.
Yep.
And it just started building from there, and it has been for like 7 years now, to the point where it is now.
An important question that if I don't ask, people will complain probably. So, do you catalog your games? Do you have like an index?
Yes, I do. It's actually combined with games that I want as well.
Okay.
So I have this. I'll put this link in your chat. It's a Google document.
You mind if I open it on stream?
Oh yeah, go ahead. That's fine.
All right, sweet.
So basically, everything on that list that is blue is what I own.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure I have everything on there. I'm not 100%. It's like 99% sure. Everything that's gray is things that I'm actively looking for.
Right.
On that list.
That's a big list.
Yeah, it is.
That's like, how far does this scroll?
It goes down a little ways.
So the NES is like the most desirable platform for you at the moment, I guess.
Well, it's like even during the pandemic and like the retro gouging that was going on, NES was stable. So I just dove into it.
Yeah.
Like including like bad games. Like I could find like jank ass games that were funny to stream for like $5.
Yeah.
Like even in
It would've
2020,
been pretty cool to drug
2021.
the cat.
So I just did that.
I forgot to mute the audio for sound commands. I'm just gonna.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm gonna do that now.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's so funny.
Thank God you weren't that stupid.
Oh, I was that stupid. Yeah. All right, it's muted now. I think. I think
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everything I have is on there. Pretty close.
that's a really cool list. I can see there's some awesome games. I could have helped you out with Betrayal at Krondor, because I traded it away a little while ago. So.
Oh, that's too bad.
I
I have like the GOG copy, but it's not a big box, right?
Yeah,
It's not
I
the
used to
same.
have like 3 or 4 of them, because I kept seeing it and buying it, thinking like, oh, the copy I have isn't complete. But I think the second one I bought was complete, but I just forgot. And so I bought 2 more after that, going, oh, I need to get a complete one. And so I ended up with like 3 complete and 1 incomplete. And I was like, oh, I'll trade these and sell them. But I don't really, yeah. I try not to get doubles like that, but sometimes it happens.
Yeah, things that is most. I mean, you can see some of it behind me. Obviously, I'm blocking a significant portion of it, but yeah.
Yeah, this is a great
What's
list
behind
of games. Oh man, Earth Siege. So did you ever play Earth Siege back in the day?
No, I didn't. It was something. See, the thing is, like a lot of games on here are games people recommended to me, like you or Rig. Like I go to like you or Rig or Duke Donuts.
Yeah.
If I like want to know like, PC or DOS games that I might like, and that was
Wow.
one of the ones I think people recommended.
And
Might have been you specifically, because
You've
some
got-
of that list is from you.
Really, I've done you dirty. I've asked you to get Mad Dog Williams Good luck. It's like impossible to find. Literally.
I know some stuff on here is like I'm never gonna have it, but just in case, because that has happened like once or twice. Like somebody sent me a copy of Earthbound on Super Nintendo, and I thought I'd never have that again.
That's
So,
awesome.
like,
that's amazing. Actually,
it's a ridiculously hard game to get now, and I'm like super grateful for that.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the like well-known like, oh, if you find this for the NES, you're gonna get rich kind of things.
I think it's like $3.50 a cart. Like at this point, it's ridiculous.
It's kind of ridiculous. Yeah, it is kind of ridiculous. I've been trying to acquire Zelda and Metroid for the NES because I never played them.
Those aren't too bad to get.
Yeah,
they made so many copies. You should be able to find them, no problem.
There's so many copies out there, but every time, like, I don't know if it's the Australian market at the moment or something, but they seem kind of overpriced to me. But I don't know if that's maybe I'm just out of touch.
Do you have an upscaler?
Yeah, I have the Retro Tink.
Okay,
I'm
just get NTSC, NES, and then the game. It's gonna be cheaper that way. And you'll be able to plug that into your Retro Tink that way. And that way you'll actually run the games at the speed they were meant to run at.
Right.
As opposed to 50 hertz. Point.
I have to think about it, Finn. I have to think about it because it's going to be harder for me to acquire NTSC copies of the games with shipping. They're like $50 to post here. So it's like...
Yeah, you would have to buy imports.
Yeah.
You could do what I did initially.
What did you do?
I did this.
Like an EverDrive type kit.
Yeah. I just got these initially.
Yeah, I've thought about it.
They're worth their weight in gold. Like this, when I got it 6.5 years ago, was $200, and I've used it so much on stream, it's paid for itself multiple times over.
Yeah. I'm gonna RGB mod my NES, one of them, and then I'll probably go direct into my capture card, the data path. Data path Vision.
Oh yeah,
E1S.
E1S. Yeah, that's what I use.
Yeah.
I used to do analog connection to that, but not anymore.
Does that? I haven't tried going analog onto that, so I figure I just go RGB, and then that should work. Like I haven't tested it yet, so we'll see.
My data path only gets HDMI. That's all I send to it.
Okay.
Everything is HDMI. And then there's this plugin called RGB Easy, which automatically detects the signal and sizes it all correctly.
Yeah, that's what I use basically. Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, I have the same with the. I don't even have like mine. NES isn't even an NES. It's an RGB modded Famicom from Japan. But it's like I have a pin converter, so I can play my NES games on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm still like shocked to looking at your massive list here. It's like it's such a
there's a lot list. I still want to get. Yeah it's a big list. I
mean, and the thing is, like, the blue is like there's a lot of blue on this list too.
It is
like,
a lot.
There's a lot behind you. What is it mostly that I can see behind you? Is it mostly I think
right
it's an
now
NES shelf on your is that your right shoulder?
Yes, you like right over here you can kind of see NES games. And then behind me right here is PS1, PS2 entirely.
Right.
And then this right here is some GameCube.
Okay, yeah.
But then there's like, all the other stuff. I mean, I could just do this. Hold on. This will work. Like that. Now you can see it better.
Yeah, that looks good. I can see that. Yeah, that's amazing, dude. See, I've dreamed of setting up something for my console collection, but I don't have a vast console collection like you do. So it's not... Yeah.
Right. I mean, I didn't either 7 years ago. I had like 10 games. That was it. Because in college, all my PS1 games were stolen. My Super Nintendo games were all like auctioned off when I was away at college, and I didn't know. Like the people I was living with just didn't tell me that their fucking house was foreclosed. Sorry for the language.
No, that's okay.
So like all that stuff was just I didn't have any games like at all. Like some PS2 games, Xbox 360, which is not retro to me. I know it is to some people. It's a subjective thing. So it's like it's totally valid. So it was just built up over the last 7 years.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and I'm like looking at. I can see your N64 collection there too. Is that a
Yeah.
Wii? There's a Wii collection as well, from the look of it.
Yeah, a little bit. There's
Yeah.
There's some Wii games here.
Yeah.
Wii's weird to me because like sometimes it's like it feels like it's retro and sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. It's a weird console.
It is a weird console. I assume you've got like the first gen that can do the GameCube games as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But I use my GameCube instead.
Right.
Because ironically the video signal from the GameCube is higher quality than the Wii.
Yep. Well, I think I don't know what that. I don't know. I didn't know that. I was thinking about just starting to play GameCube stuff on the Wii, but now that you said that, I might reconsider getting a.
It's a good catch-all option. I'm not saying that like the signal is
Yeah.
bad from the Wii. Like you can do component out on it. It's just it's fuzzier. It's got some kind of, I don't know if it's jail bars or whatever.
Right.
You can get a cleaner signal from the GameCube, much cleaner, especially if you have an upscaler connected to it, which I do.
Right.
There's specific ones where they've finally decoded that digital output port on the GameCube to convert it to HDMI. And I use one of those. It's called a GCHD Mark II.
Right. Just trying to bring up an image here. So that's the digital out. They've decoded this thing.
Yeah. See, what Alex is saying is the main reason I use that GameCube way more than the Wii. Like infinitely more. Because for GameCube games, but also for the GBA player attachment, which plays Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and GBA.
Oh man, I'm literally just convinced now that I should just get a GameCube then. Yeah.
Make sure it has the digital output port on the back. Not all
Okay.
of them do.
Yeah, all right. That's something to be aware of as well. Yeah, because like I was thinking about getting a GameCube probably for the last 6-7 years because I know there's a bunch of games on there that I would like to play, but I just haven't bitten the bullet and bought one yet. So I also went through a bit of a phase of like repairing PS2s and Xboxes and stuff like that. So I have like too many of
Nice.
them. I gotta make some space and get rid of some. So yeah.
I still got to get an Xbox, but it's like I've looked at the library and nothing really there jumps at me. It's why it's not on that list.
Yeah. It's a cool
There's not a
system.
whole lot. It is. It was honestly a very good system that just wasn't marketed as well as it could have been.
Yeah. Like Halo Combat Evolved, the first Halo, I played that on PC, so I didn't need to get an Xbox for it. But I think we had to wait a while before we got it on there. I don't remember if it launched on PC.
Halo, a lot later. Like it was an event.
Yeah,
Like it was
Yeah.
years later.
probably. I remember being disappointed about it, so that probably is true.
Yeah, I remember hearing that too.
Yeah. So, I guess you were mentioning the reason that you started streaming was because you were looking at other people streaming games that you played that you thought sucked. You found somebody doing it, and that
Yeah.
inspired you to maybe give it a shot.
Yeah.
And do you remember who that the first streamer you found was?
Yeah, I don't know if it's his name anymore. I think so. PJ D. Cesare. He's a speedrunner.
Okay.
Everyone just calls him PJ. He's notorious for destroying games on accident and just having electronics work very strangely in his presence.
Right. Interesting. And so you could have you gotten to know them over the last 7 years or so?
Not really.
Okay.
Like I met him at a convention,
Mhm.
RPG Limit Break, and he's a really cool guy. But that was really most of the engagement he had because I primarily lurked in his
Yeah.
channel.
Did
And I
you-
still do that to this day, like lurk in channels mostly.
Yeah.
But
It's a good way to abide in a channel without, you can feel like it's fine to get up and go get a coffee or something like that. You're not like engaged directly.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, like that's the main reason why I personally did like anonymous follow alerts.
Hmm.
Because I was like, I realized like I would go to channels and not hit follow because maybe I was busy or tired and I didn't want to be in a social encounter.
Yeah.
But when you hit follow, your names a lot of times will pop up, and the streamer will sometimes like directly try to engage a conversation with you.
I
And
do
you know,
that.
it was just like,
Yeah.
like that works for a lot of channels. Like that's the vibe, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But it was like a lot of times I'm like, I don't want to do that right now, so I would wait to follow, but forget. So
Yeah,
like
I've
I'm
done
just gonna turn off the names on my channel entirely, so people don't have to worry about that. And that's basically what I did in his, like in most channels. I just would follow later, or if I wanted to talk, then I would hit it.
So did you ever get a chance to talk to PJ and say like, hey, you
I told
me?
him the story.
Yeah.
Like that he inspired me to stream, and he thought it was really cool. Like
that's awesome.
I think I ended up buying him a beer and we just talked for a little while. Like, he's
sweet.
a really good guy from what I know.
Yeah. And then after, so how long did it take you before you were like, oh wait, I want to keep doing this like more, and like did it just evolve very naturally to where you're at today? And just to be clear, where you're at today, can you just like give us a rundown on like where you are in terms of like, are you full-time or part-time streamer? You can see yourself part-time, full-time streamer?
I've been full-time for 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Partnered for almost 2. Viewer average hovers around 150 ish.
Yeah,
somewhere in there.
Yeah,
that's so awesome. Just for like a general idea of the activity.
Yeah, that's really, really good.
But it was like, so to answer your question, streaming was just a hobby. Like I had no designs for it. It was just, hey, I wanted to hang out with people. Because at the time I was in another career, which was really a really good but busy career. I worked in this sports security industry in Chicago here.
Okay.
So I worked for major league sports teams. Some people might know them. The Chicago Bulls basketball team, the Chicago Blackhawks hockey team, and the Chicago White Sox baseball team. Like I worked for all of them in security.
That's awesome.
And it was initially it was event-based security, which means I worked when there was a game, right? So it was 0 to 70 hours a week, basically. Like in there. Yeah, chaotic as heck. So streaming was just whenever I had time.
Yeah.
And had the energy, because if I put in a 70-hour week, I wasn't going to stream for weeks.
Oh no.
Like I'm too tired.
Yeah, wow. It's amazing that you could go from 0 to 70. Like obviously you had a schedule, you were expecting it, or
yes. Yeah. The schedule was whenever there was a game, basically. I was a guy that never said no to anything. And that's what helped me in that industry. Like will you work this? Yes. Will you come in on this extra day and do this like side event? Yes. Like, can you work overnight here? Yes. Like it was just always yes. And it ended up me getting hired directly by the Bulls to work security for their training facility.
Wow.
So it was like just, face to face with the players all the time and things like that.
That would be amazing.
It was nice. And then I ended up getting hired full time by the venue where they played to work security there in a area that was quite similar to what I do for a living. It was called Dispatch. It was where all the security cameras were.
Right.
There was like 12 to 15 4K monitors in there, and each had however many cameras on each monitor. So it was like it's just nerve center. So I ended up doing that full time.
And this is within the last 7 years. All this was still going down. You building.
Yeah, well, I rose. I'd say I rose pretty quickly, relatively speaking. It was kind of nice. But like streaming was still there throughout all of that, right? To be more on point. But one thing I noticed is right around when I went full time, one of the most exciting things to me of that facet of having just a steady 40 hours a week was that I could finally have a stream schedule.
Yeah.
Like I always wanted that. I was like, oh, I could finally be regular and have some consistency. Maybe, more people will find me that way because I'm always going to be on at this day, at this time. And that worked. Like my channel started growing.
It's amazing that consistency, like people knowing like, oh, so you're going to be on at that time. I will drop in then. Like,
right.
It's amazing.
As long as you're offering something that they're going to enjoy.
Yeah.
Obviously,
I don't think you
like
just stream,
if someone's like right, yeah. Like if someone's like, yeah, guys, I'm going to be streaming 5 days a week at 8 p.m. and then like all you do is just sit there like barely talking and like playing Nintendo. It's like, that's not going to work. But I mean, it'll help, but
some people will like that. But yeah.
Right. Somebody will like that.
Yeah.
Not a lot proportionally, but somebody will.
Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, okay. So that's a pretty insightful answer then. So you would not jumped in like, I'm gonna make streaming a career now. Like, you just I'm gonna do this for fun. And then at some point, obviously a switch flicked, right? So,
Dude,
what-
even knowing what I do now, like I wouldn't do it because like I think I make lower than minimum wage.
yeah, I'm not surprised.
But I mean, I traded good money and insanely good benefits to do this for a living because the passion is there.
yeah. I
And
think
to
you
me,
have
that
to
was
be a
worth it.
passionate person to do that. Do what
Yeah.
you've done. Go full-time streaming, knowing, like, yeah, knowing that the income is what it is, and like, it's very hard to get a big sponsorship as a retro streamer because it's like,
Right.
how likely is like Logitech gonna come to you and say like, hey, you're playing the latest and greatest, you should stream with our gear? It's like they got better targets for that kind of, yeah.
They do go to bigger targets, but channels our size do get those sponsors.
Oh yeah,
Like I've commonly seen Corsair and NXET hit our community.
yeah. I mean, I'm sponsored by Fractal Design, but
There you go. I love their cases. They're
yeah,
so
they do
good.
amazing stuff.
Oh my
but,
god.
but like, I mean, it's pretty rare, right? And like, I just lucked into
Right.
it, so I
Yeah.
didn't, like, yeah. Anyway, not about. I don't want to talk about that right now. We can talk about it if you want, but talking about like, so making this your career, it's like, okay, I have to figure this out. Like, so
Yeah.
I know a lot of people out there probably have wondered like, how does a full-time streamer like live? Like, what do they do? So
Right.
like, you're not on the stream and you're thinking about stream, right? Like,
Yes.
thinking about what's next. How do I take the next step? How do I bring it up to the next level? Like that thought process must have started before you decided, okay, I'm going full time. Like sometime you must have gone like, okay, this is it. Do you remember like a specific decision point?
Yeah.
You do. Okay.
Before I answer that, Alex asked me a question, and I just wanted to answer him real quick.
Go
Yeah, the
ahead.
first game I streamed was the fan retranslation of Breath of Fire 2.
Wow.
That game has one of the most notoriously awful localizations
Mhm.
like ever in an RPG. And so fans retranslated it. It's
Yeah.
incredibly good. I
It's
highly
amazing what
recommend it.
passion will do, right? Like,
Yeah.
passion it changes things. Like, people will take it that extra step, go the extra mile, and like put the extra effort in to make sure they get it right. And we see that time and again, like with streaming especially, right? Like, someone who cares more about what they're streaming, they're gonna talk more about it, and they have that
Yeah.
extra lore and all that kind of stuff. So
But going back to that decision point,
Yeah.
there was two major decision points, which I think were kind of instrumental. One of them was when I was working those overnight jobs with the Bulls.
Mhm.
I'd be alone in the building because they ran their training facility 24/7. If any player wanted to show up at 2 a.m. and shoot hoops or work out or hit the sauna or whatever, great, go ahead. We're there for them, right? We
Yep.
take care of them. But most of the time we were just alone overnight in the building. So the bosses were like, hey, you can watch TV or shows or movies or whatever.
Mhm.
That's fine. Just as long as you're minding the cameras, doing your rounds, checking, making sure everything's secure. Okay. So I'd watch a lot of Twitch. And think about my channel. And I remember coming to a decision point. I think it was like in the winter. I was working like holidays or whatever. And I was like, I think one thing I wanted to do was I made the decision to improve my channel every single day, no matter how small it was. So, I use these music playlists. Back in the day, my channel was very music centric.
Yep.
I'll add like 3 songs to this playlist. I just improve the channel, right?
Yeah, that's
Or I'll learn how to make a logo. There you go. There, I improved the channel. Or I'll look into games maybe I want to stream next week. So I did that every day, right? And like, I think people don't realize that those kinds of like incremental little upgrades, they're cumulative.
yeah.
And if you like look back at doing that for an entire year, that's a lot.
It's a lot of cumulative little changes. That becomes a big change easily. Yeah.
It does, yeah. It all adds up, and like a lot of times that stuff isn't going to work out, but you still improve things because now you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just that was it. That was that point where you're like, okay, I'm gonna, now that I've improved it this much, I'm thinking about it all the time. I'm just gonna try and make it work.
Well, at that point, I think I was like 10 to 20 average
Okay.
viewer average, like just streaming whatever, like Dark Souls and like Stardew Valley and
Yeah.
retro games, like whatever. I had no focus,
Uh-huh.
but I was still like, I like this and I want it to be bigger than it is, so I'm going to try that. And then a couple of years later, 1 or 2, was when I got hired full time and I started getting on that schedule and my channel started growing. And I was like, hey, I really like this. And I knew people that did it for a living. And I was like, I kind of want to do that, but I decided to do this instead. And this was the second major decision point that I made. Excuse me. Sorry, little reflux. I decided to save up money for a year. It was like 12 to 18 months. I decided to save money with the goal of thinking about it during that time. So 12 to 18 months to consider my options of whether or not it was realistic, right? With the assumption that if I quit my job, I would have enough money to save to live off of full time for 1 year, assuming I made 0 cents.
Okay.
So I basically banked enough money to live off of it for an entire year with the assumption of no income.
Yeah.
And when I got to that point, I still wanted to do it. And it was like a year and a half later, or a year later. It was somewhere in there. So that's when I made the decision. And my bosses already knew that I was big into Twitch and it was growing. Like they knew what my channel was, and like coworkers all knew about it too. So like everyone was supportive when I came to the decision to leave the job to try it. Like they all thought it was a good idea.
Yeah. So this was how long ago?
That was my last day was somewhat poetically for US viewers, July 4th, 2018, which is Independence Day here.
Wow.
Accidentally, it wasn't on purpose. It just happened that way.
Just happened to be. You declared your own independence on Independence Day.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that was my last day, but I gave him a month. I was like, I'm gonna give you guys a month to find my replacement because like I owed them that much.
Yeah.
Like, they were really good to me.
They
were
looked after
really
you well
good.
from the sound of it. Sounds like a pretty good place to work. I mean,
It was like
You
even
worked
the
hard.
boss was like I asked the boss, I'm like, hey, if this doesn't work out, can I come back? He's like, well, I couldn't guarantee full time, but absolutely yes.
Yeah.
So like I had that cushion too, you know.
Yeah.
That reassurance.
That's really good. So you did you were very obviously deliberate and thinking ahead. Like, I'm gonna save this money up. If I'm still passionate about this idea after a year and a half, I'm gonna do it. And you got there and you said, yeah, I still want to do it. That's really impressive. So yeah, I mean, everybody's journey is a little different, right? Like some people just like blow up on Twitch somehow and that just becomes their career by default, but some other people have to make a decision like you did, and like other people just different situations, right? So
I mean, I had people that expected me to never make it because my channel grew so slowly.
Yeah.
Like if you look at a line graph of my channel's growth over 7 years, it's like little ups and downs that just gradually get higher and higher. Like it's like the worst way to grow, but also the best way, because at least I've learned everything along the way, but it is a very slow way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I think the consistency is really important because it's healthier that way, right? Like if you suddenly get to like 200 or 300 viewers a stream, and then you do that for a month, it's not going to necessarily stay there, right? If it's just sudden, going from like say 20 average to 200 average, it's like it's awesome, but you can't bank on something like that happening, right?
Right.
Yeah. I think I know with my journey on Twitch it was a very different journey because I was
there like from the start for you, for almost from the start.
Wow.
Not like entirely, but I just remember seeing you go from like 75 to like 250 in like a couple months. It was just like whoa, this is cool.
It was wild. Yeah, it's been a really crazy journey for me as well. Like I'm still not full time, if anybody's wondering that. I have a family of 5, so I'm the main earner in my family in my full time job. So that's a big difference. I'm single, no kids, and I have a roommate. So like I was able to work that into, factor that in. I didn't have any dependents. I still don't. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's like I'm obviously happy about my situation, right? But also like,
it's a good side hustle, Mike.
Oh yeah, it's a hell of a side hustle. I'm loving it. I love doing it. Like the thing is, like for me, I similar to you, like, and I haven't got a formal diagnosis, but for ADHD is sort of like a thing that a family member, one of my children. So with that diagnosis, I was like, oh, wait, that's not normal.
It explains a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it explains
like
a lot,
I was
so-
self-diagnosed for like over 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, and it was like a lot of soul searching and research and like reading scholarly journals and talking to people that have it and watching videos. Because I didn't want to like be like, yeah, I got it, and then just like, you know, like just tell everyone that without knowing what the hell I was talking about. Like, no, I needed to know. I needed to know.
Yeah, so my plan is to go formally through my doctor and get all the things checked and like get some advice on it, because like I do wonder, I've always wondered, like, I knew I was different, but I didn't know why.
Yeah.
And now I got an idea, like, okay, maybe I still won't, I guess, know why, but I can at least put a name to it, and maybe maybe there's something I can do to perform a little better or something like that. So
sorry, one of the things of ADHD is interrupting people, because it's like the brain's like, I already know what he's gonna say, and it's just blah, you just blurt it out. It's like, slow down, fuck.
No, yeah, it's one of those things you gotta like try your best, right? But yeah, we're doing well. We're doing well.
It's an explanation, not an excuse.
Yeah. I think yeah, so like I was saying, for me it's like, oh, I have a mortgage and a family and all this. I going full time on Twitch looks very different for me than it does for somebody else, right? So long term for me is like very different. Like I'm still searching for the right pathway to follow, but I love it. I love every minute of it. So yeah. Anyway, I don't know how I got onto that tangent directly, but I wanted to ask you more about, like, I got a very good picture of where you came from now, I think, which is great, because I always kind of wanted, you're such a personable, like, character on the stream, and you have, like, you know, you're very charismatic, you have a certain personality that is attractive, and you talk to people, the way you talk about things and talk to people is very... I don't know. I guess I've used all the synonyms already, but you're very friendly. So one of the things that I noticed that you do regularly, and you come in even with the raids, you come in with the question of the day, right? Like there's a yeah, and I love that idea. I could never feel organized enough to do that. Was that one of the improvements you decided to throw into your channel throughout the course of it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was like initially it was like an hour before stream, I'd be like, okay, let's sit here and try to think of one. And then sometimes it was taking forever. So now I just do it like 5 minutes before I hit live. But I also, the most recent upgrade again that I've done to help with that is Chat GPT. We have this bot in our Discord that's hooked into it.
Oh, nice.
I just ask it to come up with questions. And then I look through the list and I'll either use some of them or change them, because it comes up with good stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting.
It's just like, yeah, give me a list of 10 questions about retro gaming I can ask my Twitch stream. And it's just like, it'll just churn out 10. And some of them are like really involved. It's like, yeah, it's too much. You know, you want to go for the more open-ended stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it works.
Yeah, you started like that, doing that. And when I think I first met you because you raided me. I think that's how I first met you. I'm not sure about that, but it might be.
Possible, yeah.
And I was like, as soon as I started watching your streams, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I love the attitude that you've taken towards like this community side of it. And it's like you've said it before already today, is like it's not so much about the game, it's more the background for the conversation and the socializing. And
yeah,
I mean, for me, that's how Twitch started as well, because I was like, well, I can't, we were in lockdowns in Australia, like where I live, we had curfews. So I couldn't even go out for a walk or something like that. So I was like, what am I going to do? I guess I'll stream. I'd thought about streaming a few times in the past, but like not seriously. And I thought, I doubt there's many people streaming retro PC things on Twitch. And I was kind of wrong about that, but I was kind of right. So I just like started streaming stuff from my collection, and yeah, it grew from there. But now I've lost my train of thought. So I think there was a question in there somewhere. Was there?
I don't know, I forgot.
Anyway,
Chat, was there a question in there?
Chat GPT? Ask Chat GPT? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No, I think I got the answer that I was looking for actually, because you said it was basically one of those incremental improvements. You decided to start asking those questions. And it's like one of those things I've always found very admirable is the way you focus on the community, though. And I mean, I guess with the game being in the background, have you ever thought about just like not having the game, like just doing a just chatting stream for a while or something?
Briefly, I don't like the idea.
Yeah,
honestly, like, because it's like I can only talk about the same thing for so long. I need something to bounce off of. So if there isn't that background, after about, I've noticed, I start every stream just doing that, basically, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed that. I know. I don't play anything until anywhere from 1 to 3 hours into the stream, typically. Not exactly by design. That's just how it works.
Right.
But I noticed after that, like, things taper off, and I don't want to just cut out, you know.
Yeah. So
that's when I start the game.
Yeah.
And then it gives us something else to bounce off of. Because there are people who like, yeah, I just show up for the first couple hours, and then when you start the game, I go somewhere else. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's just your vibe.
Your stream gave me the comfort to be like, oh, I can just talk for a while. So I was like, always like, when I first started streaming, I was like, the game has to be running when I go live. And then I was
a lot of people do that, and I'm like, how do they do that?
Yeah.
Like, my brain isn't wired like that. I can't.
Once
like Alex says, you can chat playing games. I can, but not as well.
You
it's
can.
Like, it's just the ADHD.
Well.
Like, it's like I got focus on this or that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like it's really hard.
I find it very hard.
It's hard to describe it.
When I'm, especially if it's an FPS or something that requires that extra focus. I'm just like, I'm locked in. I can't. What peripheral vision, you know?
Right. Like when I do raffle nights, where like I'll pick a system and then I'll run raffles, and the winner gets to pick any game on that system I play for 30 minutes up to. Right. But I always say no shmups, no RPGs, because you can't see anything in an RPG for 30 minutes.
No.
Nothing happens in any RPG in 30 minutes, or you get teased. Right.
You might get lucky
with
with some.
I can't look at chat. If it's a shmup, I can't look at chat.
No.
You blink once in a shmup, you're dead. Game over. It's like, ugh.
Yeah.
I can't do that. Like, it just, my brain isn't wired like that. It just isn't. It's just that neurodivergence.
I just don't.
like,
I think shmups is like an exception to like nobody could. I don't think anybody could stream and look at chat while they're playing something like that.
Some people can. You know, they're just.
Yeah.
It's just a different, wired differently. You know.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's kind of why I like RPG so much, because when I want to focus on something else, the game's waiting for me, right? Like, it's not like I'm not getting slaughtered by some monster with a sword because I'm looking at chat, right? The game's waiting for my input. It's almost always turn-based or some kind of method like that, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have that concern. There are times where I've been playing games and we get into a topic, and I'll be in the same turn in a battle or the same line in a dialogue for an hour plus. The game waits, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no sense of urgency there that requires my immediate attention until I hit a button. So it works very well for, you know, the ADHD, that neurodivergence.
Yeah. Did you find that doing the longer chat, did you find yourself getting nervous about that? Like, it evolved to that. Is that right? Find yourself getting
it just kind of ended up happening that way. It wasn't like oh, I'm gonna just start talking for a couple hours. It just happened that way. But yes, I was nervous when it started going like an hour plus. I'm like, oh, people are gonna leave because they want this game. And it was the opposite, because it was really where the community building was happening. So what I did is I started looking for content to do during that initial startup. So I would find like videos we could all watch. Like, one that worked really well for us was watching people restore old retro games and consoles.
That's cool. Yeah.
And there was no talking in the videos. That was key. If there was no talking, I could be the one talking while they're doing their thing in the video, and we're all just commenting on it. Like that was pretty integral into kind of building up those initial hours.
You still do that?
Finding stuff like that. Not as much.
Yeah. I posted one of those videos. It's not the most interesting video, but you could watch me restoring a box.
Yeah, I could definitely do that. We like pulling stuff out. We find like people who like take old rebar or like leaf springs and turn them into knives or whatever.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
just
yeah.
anything that doesn't have talking. It's like
Yeah.
kind of like manual, some kind of manual
Yeah.
craft.
Somebody
Usually
working with
is-
their hands and not talking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that stuff works well for those initial hours.
That's cool. I think for me, I've gotten to the point now where I will comfortably talk for an hour before I get to the game, but I'm also like, I feel this very strong pressure from myself that I want to get through the game library, right? Like, there's a ton of games I haven't played yet, so
Yeah, that's the
constantly
thing
looking at
that hangs over me a lot is how many of these games that have been given to me that I haven't had time to
Yeah.
play. It's like I feel guilty, but also I think they understand that there aren't unlimited hours in the universe, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. There's entropy to worry about. So yeah, at some point we'll run out of that time. But like, I've looked at like, I've gotten a few gifts as well. I've had people send me boxes of games, Trady being one of them, in the chat. I don't know, I thought I saw him there anyway. He maybe he's not there right now, but he sent through boxes of games as well. And I look at them, I'm like, I gotta play these games, but it's like, I also have my spreadsheet of games that I'm like, oh, these are the games I wanted to play. And I've had games on my list to play since I started streaming I haven't even got to yet.
Yeah,
I've streamed
same.
for 2.5, nearly 3 years in August, so
Like legitimately same, and I'm talking 7 years here.
yeah.
There are games that I still haven't gotten around to. I'm like,
Yeah.
it just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
like some Dragon Quest games that I've been wanting to play since I started. I haven't yet.
Yeah.
You know, for example, it's just, wow. Or Final Fantasy X is another one.
Wow.
That's 7 years.
That's an epic
You
game,
know?
though. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
So those Final Fantasy games, that's one thing I struggle with all those JRPGs tends to be the length of the game. It's just like, I played this for the length of a typical game, maybe like, or a short game, and that's only the tutorial section. Like, now the world opens up. It's like, God, I don't know.
See, that's the thing. I find that a bit ironic because you've played things like Betrayal at Krondor and then that freaking 2D platformer that you just beat recently that took you forever to beat.
Oh,
like
Zeliard
they're
was
longer.
big one, yeah.
Zeliard. Those
Yeah.
are longer than like console RPGs, like way longer.
I don't know. Is it like?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how long I spent on Zeliard. I haven't like added up the hours, but I started it in December and I finished it like a couple of months ago or whatever.
So like I would say like a typical Final Fantasy is like a 40 to 60 hour play casually.
Right. I mean,
But
that
easily faster.
would
Easily
be like 10
faster.
weeks for me, probably longer, because I wouldn't actually get those gameplay hours in during my streams, because my streams are about 5 to 6 hours, maybe,
Right.
being generous. Probably close to 5 hours.
Like
at least.
if you're a completionist, yeah, it's gonna take you forever. If you just want to beat the game, 30 to 40 hours,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, I think
Like that's the way like I play them on stream. It's like I'm not a completionist because I
Yeah.
realize it just makes them take way too long, and even I get like kind of just burnt out.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so I've got a plan for playing the Elder Scrolls series coming up.
Oh yeah, do tell, because I want to look into one of those at some point, and they are massive.
Yeah, they're huge games. So I got into Elder Scrolls because of Daggerfall, right? Daggerfall was like this game that's like, I spent countless hours as a kid playing the demo that I had. I got a cover disc demo that, which was like a scaled down version of Daggerfall, but like very complete. So it had like, it took place on the island of Bethany, but it had this giant city on there that was about the size of the Daggerfall city, maybe a bit smaller. But you couldn't leave the island, but you could like do basically everything else that you could do in the full game.
Huh.
And it was like, I spent countless hours in that without modifying it or anything, just playing that. And
Wild.
so I just was like, I have to play this series of games. So when Morrowind was like, I eventually got a copy of that, and then Morrowind came out and I got that, and then I went back and got Arena, And there's all these games like in that series that eventually came out as well. Like there's the N-Gage. You remember the N-Gage? Do you have an N-Gage collection?
No.
The Nokia N-Gage was like this
No.
telephone that could also play
I know
games,
what it is.
which was an amazing thing at the time. Nothing like a smartphone is today, but it's literally insert the cartridge for the game like a Game Boy, but it's also a phone. Like, it's a wild idea, right?
Right.
And then I never got one, but I was tempted to get one when they started releasing Elder Scrolls games for it. It's like, really? I have to buy this system now? I didn't end up doing it. I regret that to this day.
I watched somebody stream N-Gage games like a month ago. I think it was Dino.
Yeah.
You know Dino? Yeah.
Yeah, Dino, please.
And he played. It was Oblivion. It was awful.
There's an Oblivion on there?
But yeah, I think it was Oblivion. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
because it was just like it's first person, but it's more almost like a grid-based dungeon crawler,
Right.
but not good. And like every time you do something, a giant wall of text appears and says, "Okay, you did this. Now this person wants you to do this. Go do this." Like it's just like nonstop. Like you're just being led on a leash. It was pretty cringy.
Yeah.
But he did play this one game. It was like a tactical RPG where you were like pirates, and it was really good. Like shockingly good.
When
I
you
can't
say
remember the
tactical
name of it.
RPG, like tactics style combat, like in
Yes, like Fire Emblem, Final Fantasy Tactics, Disgaea, like that kind of gameplay. It was actually really good. Like shockingly good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was impressed by that. I was like, okay, N-Gage does have some good games. Now I know. I don't know the name. I don't remember.
Just checking the chat message for the bot was working properly. So.
Oh,
Anyway.
okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Anyway, the N-Gage, and then there's like the whole rest of this Elder Scrolls series, right? I want to play them all, and I can't do what I normally do, which is just piss around in the game until I like find what I'm supposed to do and like casually. I don't do a casual playthrough, but I definitely don't like target the end. Like I'm not gonna do the main quest line all the way through. It's gonna be like I like taking the diversions and seeing what's there and like exploring the world, and like the developers spent time on this. I should like at least explore it a bit, right? But I think with Elder Scrolls, I'm gonna have to be a lot more dedicated to like just only focusing on the main quest. Like, especially like I've just done Ultimate Underworld. I'm not done with it yet. I hopefully will finish it this week. And I've meandered through that game very slowly and like looking at stuff. I've leveled up my character ridiculously. Like I feel pretty powerful in that game. I found some awesome stuff, but I still like never really laser focus on the quests, and so it's taking me a long time to get through it. I can't do that with Elder Scrolls.
So I had a solution for that.
Yeah.
And it has a lot to do with ADHD. Because like we get so easily distracted by novelty, right?
Yeah.
Oh, what's this quest? Oh, what's this cave? Like this is different looking, you know?
Yeah.
Or like, oh, there's weird sounds. Like we're super susceptible to that.
Also,
so what I
just,
did,
like, I came up with this idea for like traversing the terrain in a specific way. I'm gonna try and do that until I nail it. Like, it doesn't do anything for the game.
So what I did, I was playing Witcher 3.
Yeah.
And this wasn't on stream, but it was kind of like a test, like a field test, right? And Witcher 3, I think, has 4 categories of quests. You have primary quests, which are all your story quests, right? You have secondary quests that tie into the primaries usually, or are their own dedicated quest lines.
Right.
And then you have hunts and contracts, I think, or treasure hunts and contracts. I ignored every treasure hunt and contract. I just pretended they didn't exist. I tricked myself into saying these don't happen ever. And so I only did primary and secondary, and the game was like streamlined and fun, and I was engaged the whole time, and I ended up beating it.
Okay.
And that game is huge.
Yeah.
That game is unreasonably huge.
Yeah, this like I don't know if I could do it, honestly. Like
I didn't either.
I think I'd need
until
a mod.
I tried it.
Just mod the game.
A mod? Yeah, that might be. Well, I mean, in that game, I think you could turn off map markers, specific ones.
Oh.
So I think that's what I did.
Would that
It was
make
either that or I had a mod that did it. I know specifically, I look at the map and it would
Mhm.
only show primary and secondary and nothing else.
Yeah. I think that like, yeah, I don't know, I don't have advice for you on like how to focus on anything, but I might try that. I think you might have advised me more than I could advise you on like getting through the Elder Scrolls.
Dude, let me know what works for you.
What I'm gonna have to do, I think, is like the opposite to what I normally do. Which is normally what I could do is I go into the game without looking into it as much as possible.
Oh.
And just like go in blind basically and just like, oh, how do I do this? Like, if the game doesn't tell you how to do it, I'm not gonna figure it out until I like find that one part of it that tells you how to do it, or I bang my head against the wall enough that I figure it out.
I stopped doing that.
Yeah, so
I stopped doing that. Like, if I know a game's long, I'll try to find a spoiler-free guide just in case. And if I get stuck, I give myself just a few minutes, and then I'll start asking chat for help.
yeah.
And if that doesn't work, I look it up. Because it's like, I can't get stuck on something for hours. Like, I get bored, and then I start getting frustrated, and people leave because it's very... Like, viewers are smart. They know when you're not having a good time.
Yeah.
And if you're not having a good time, they're probably not either, and they're going to go somewhere else or just lurk and stop talking.
Yeah. What was the biggest mistake that you think you learned from with streaming then? That's a good question. Just throw it off on a different tangent now.
Oh, that's a good question. Biggest mistake? I think when I went full time, I tried to put too many hours in a week.
Yeah, okay.
Because I thought just being like, I thought the old meta was still like real. Like, oh, just be live all the time. That's how you grow. And it was the opposite. It was the pure opposite. Like, I almost crashed and burned the whole channel.
Yeah, wow.
Because like when I went full time, I was hitting like 30 to 50 viewer average, but I was also pulling in enough to just pay my bills.
Wow.
And that first like 2 months went down to about 15 average, and everything started drying up. So it was like, oh man, panic mode.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
It was too many hours. I didn't have enough time to do the stuff I was doing. Because think about it. Before I was full time, I was on a schedule consistently at work, but also on stream, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was streaming like 20 to 30 hours a week on top of my full-time schedule, which is a lot. It was too much. But what was I doing when I wasn't streaming? I was, as you said earlier tonight, thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
Formulating plans, improving my stream every day. So I'd take every spare minute to look up songs or find out how much a game costs or try to get a game or, you know, look into things. And instead, I went full time and I just started going hard and nothing but streaming, and I had no time to do any of that stuff anymore.
Right. Yeah, I can see how it'd be damaging. It's also probably damaging to your energy, because streaming's a different kind of energy. Seriously. Like,
yeah.
You couldn't
it
pull off a
messes you up.
70-hour work week on stream, right?
Oh, dude, when I first went full time, I was 60 hours a week streaming. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's too much.
I think when I started, I was streaming every single day of the week because I had literally nothing else to do.
Right.
Right.
You were locked down. Yeah. I mean, during the lockdown, I didn't do that even then. It was like 5 days a week at that point.
Yeah.
I'd still take my 2 because I needed the energy and I needed the time.
Yeah.
To make sure that I wasn't just getting static. Because I think that's a big mistake a lot of people make on Twitch, is that they get to a point where they think that they're doing okay, and then they stop trying to improve that. And then like 3 years later, they're still doing that exact same thing, and their channel has gone nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to know what to do, like at the same time. Like, try something else, but what do you try? Like, that's very difficult. Trying to innovate on your own thing and like stay true to yourself, but like explore some new regions. It's hard to do. Yeah,
it's a yearly goal I do every year.
Oh, really?
Is how do I reinvent the channel?
Okay. And how broad does that reinvention need to be?
Not that much. I think like 2 or 3 years ago, it was like, okay, let's just go hard into retro instead of like doing modern games too, and like Souls and stuff like that. Once I got more focused, it started working really well. And then I think the year after that, it was okay, now that I'm kind of entrenched more comfortably in retro, how can I expand upon this to make it different than just any other retro channel? And so I started doing like events, challenge runs, raffle nights. Started building up my hardware only routing. So like every console I have is analog, basically routed through an upscaler. I don't do emulators at all.
So cool.
Like ever.
Yeah.
And it's like I love emulators. They're amazing, but I don't
love them.
like
I still use
using them
emulators.
on stream.
Yeah. I still use them on stream, but my goal is eventually push the hardware side of things further, because I have the kit, I just don't have the cable management, and like I need probably some switcher or something like that at some point. Like, yeah.
Well, I'm kind of an AV wizard with that stuff, so just let me know if you need help.
I will, yeah.
But it was like I realized I don't think anybody should do it this way unless they're passionate about it.
Exactly.
I do it because I enjoy the game more. I realized when I do this.
Yeah.
Like when I play hardware, for whatever reason, I don't know, I can't even really pinpoint it. I just have a better time.
It's part of why I collect games too, because of the kinesthetic of it. Of like, oh, I can hold this and I can like flick through the paper manual, and I can like learn from that and then apply that to the game in front of me. Like, even if in emulation, I still feel like more connected to the game when I've got it physically in front of me. But like putting the CD into the CD tray or the floppy disk in the floppy drive and like actually playing on real hardware, there's something.
There's a physical connection to the experience.
Yeah, there's something special about it. But you can get very darn close with emulation, of course. So,
oh yeah.
I
think emulation is essential, especially for preservation.
So you have a YouTube channel.
I guess, yeah.
Is that a VOD archive, or do you do?
No, I don't use it. Like I used to VOD archive, and half the VODs would get like content ID strikes.
Yeah.
And blocked. And the ones that didn't weren't getting views at all, like 0 views. So I stopped doing that a very long time ago. And then I started uploading D&D stuff to that channel because I ran a D&D campaign for like a year and a half. That was one of the reinventions I did in 2018, I think it was.
Wow, you've got 5 D&D playlists here.
Are they still in there? Because I unlisted all those. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I will. You still have the.
No, that's good. I need to know that.
Yeah. The playlists are still there, but I see you've just got the content.
Because they went nowhere. Like they went nowhere.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I started doing the whole like, okay, let's take segments like YouTube digestible segments of retro streams that I would do and try to cut them down.
Is that what we've got here? Is that what I'm looking at?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was like 2 or 3 years ago. That's the last time I really used that channel. Like, I think YouTube is kind of essential for most people, but I've had people straight up tell me you cannot succeed on Twitch without being present on another platform. And I have never been present on another platform. I have no presence on YouTube. I mean, look at it. I have no presence on like Twitter for the most part, like nothing on Instagram, like TikTok isn't going anywhere. Like none of that's working for me.
Yeah.
It just isn't. But here we are.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing well on the Twitch, so keep that up.
Yeah. Right? I promise you that getting something consistent and good on YouTube is in the back of my mind every freaking day.
Still.
Every day, because I think it is absolutely essential for longevity.
Oh, I agree. I would agree with that. I've been trying myself with the YouTube thing, and I
think it's a good idea, Mike.
What I did is I stopped working on one video because the previous video that I had worked on at the same time, I wasn't happy with it, right? Like I edited it and it just got worse when I edited it. I was like, this is not going the direction I'd hoped, because I'd reached a point where I was like, oh, it takes me this long to make a video right now, and that time will go down a little bit once I get better. But I need to figure out a way to crunch that like in half. So I was like, I'm gonna shoot 2 videos at the same time. So I did. And that meant I wanted to set up the camera less, right? Because I didn't want to. I wanted to get through
the effort.
Yeah, it takes like an hour maybe to set up all the lighting and the camera in the right spot, and then like get it all focused and like make sure I'm framed properly. It takes time to set up, so it could be 40 minutes to an hour maybe to get that shot set up and ready and like tested, and then I review it and like, okay, it's ready to shoot, and then I shoot it.
Yeah.
And I got 2 games, so I got to like reset the props for that and then shoot the second one, and then I move on to the next shot that I want to do. So I end up with 2 video contents that are very similar because I'm shooting them from the same angle to save time. And I didn't have a decent script to work from, so that was bad. It's like so many problems.
You have to let yourself like. Do you do profanity here or no?
I am not a 18 plus channel. I'm not mature. But
Okay, then
it's okay
I'll
for
color it.
like we can PG-13
No,
a couple of times.
Don't worry, I'll color it. You need to let yourself mess up.
Yeah.
You have to. You have to learn on your feet with this stuff.
Yeah.
Because here's the reality, and I'm sorry if I interrupted.
No.
But here's the reality of Twitch. Too many people wait for things to be perfect before they get started. And what's the result? They never do anything.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, there's this new camera. I'm going to get this.
Yeah.
Oh, there's this new keyboard or like new capture card.
Oh, yeah.
Or, oh, I got to get this monitor now. And it's just like they're constantly trapped
Even
in
just
this.
the
Like,
OBS layout. The number of people I've seen post an amazing looking OBS layout, but they still haven't started
never use
streaming.
it.
It's like, come on, dude.
right. Hit the button. Just hit the button. Put a piece of crap out there on the internet and then just improve it a little bit every day. Like, just do that. That's what you're doing. I don't know if it's a piece of crap, to be honest. I have no idea. I haven't watched it other than your interview with Julia, but I was here for that anyway. Right? But you said you hated, like, you didn't like the result, right?
Yeah, it's online. Like, I haven't taken it down. It's the best performing video that I posted to the channel, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
My expectations outgrew my skills.
Yeah.
And it's like, I need to learn more, and I need to be okay with not being perfect, which is something I really struggle with. Like, I really struggle with it. That's why I haven't released any of the games that I've worked on. Because, like, I've worked on, like, dozens of games at this point, and not one of them have ever like, actually put out and let people play. Like, other than, like, close
dump them on
friends.
an itch.io, man. Just dump them on an itch.io.
I know. You're yeah, I know.
Just do it. Like,
It's
what do you got to
right
lose?
here,
Like, honestly.
But it's like,
I know,
that
it's an
little
anxiety
voice.
thing, right?
Yeah.
Anxiety is a big side effect of ADHD, by the way. So
yeah, and I struggled with that for like decades. Like, I know what I should do, but it's still when it comes to crunch time, I still haven't really gotten over that hurdle. I'm trying. I'm gonna do it.
It's executive dysfunction, man.
Yeah.
Like, we know what we want to do.
Yeah.
We know what we have to do, and our brain is like, nah, you're gonna sit there and stress about it for 10 hours.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like, how do you explain that to somebody who just can do it, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's how our brains are wired. Like, we just can't.
Yeah.
We
I literally have
can't.
footage sitting there that I could edit into a video right now. Like, I could finish the stream tonight and sit up for another couple of hours and probably edit a video together and put it out if I, anyway, I won't, but maybe I could.
No, that's really good that you put the video out. Keep doing that.
Yeah.
Just
so
learn each time.
Yeah.
Like, even people like Mr. Beast and them, like their first videos were crap.
Yeah, of course. Like, and that's
like,
the other thing I have to keep
crap.
telling myself. It's crap. It's gonna be. It's good that it's
Right.
crap because that means I've got room to improve, right? Like,
Yeah. And again, like I said, I don't know if your videos are bad or not. I haven't seen them.
That's okay.
But the fact that you're like, yeah, I'm gonna put this out there, that's good. That's like the hardest part.
It is hard, and like, honestly, like, I know so much about what I need to do now because I've learned so much in the last. I've put out like 4 or 5 videos, so maybe. So I know what I need to do. I just gotta.
That's good.
I gotta put the effort in, and that's what I've been trying to do. I've actually written like 2.5 scripts that I'll go back and re-edit before I try and shoot anything, and I'll know
what kind of videos are you scripting.
So right now, the ones I'm working on are just like kind of. I don't want to say the word game review, but we'll call it game reviews for the sake of convenience. But really, what it's
in the
about
same wavelength
is my experience with a game, because it's like nobody else can make that video. But I can say, like, this is where I was, this is what my life was like at the time that I first played this game, this is why it means something to me. Obviously, I'll run out of that kind of content at some point, because, like, there's only so many games I played back then, but at least I can make that stuff, and maybe I can revisit them in the future when I'm better at making videos, right? Because by then, they're old videos, nobody's seen them, so...
Or by then, that has built up new ideas for you.
Yeah. And there's other content that I've got ideas for that I've been working on. So, like, are you familiar with the Gravis gamepad?
I've heard. I can't remember what it looks like, but yeah, I remember it's kind of. It exists.
Yeah. Well, it's basically, it's not great. Like that's
Right.
I've got one. It's mine. Mine's right here. The one I've been streaming with, and
There it is.
I've been modifying it. So like this is the original D-pad, right?
Yeah.
So I got a video that I'm working on. Like, oh, I'm gonna make the D-pad better because the D-pad sucks. It's a circle, right? It's not actually.
That's completely unique. That nobody's gonna be doing that. That's good. I like that.
Yeah. So like, this sucks. I know it sucks. I know why it sucks. I'm trying to improve it. That's a video.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah, it is. That is a video.
I
would watch with something like that.
My media.
Put a thumbnail
storage,
where it's like you could do a thumbnail where it's just like I take the worst controller ever and make it good. You know?
Yeah, I should go that route because like what I've done is like the words on that need to be better. I did a thumbnail. I don't know if I uploaded it anywhere, but I did a thumbnail. I'll see if I can dig it up while we're chatting. But yeah. Anyway, I guess I'm interested in your experience with this YouTube content. So every single thumbnail that I'm looking at in this window is a
they're not good
stream.
Yeah, in essence, they're not good thumbnails, but yes.
I mean, they look great to me, but you know, what do I know? I'm a noob at this.
So
stuff,
I think that the biggest issue I had with my thumbnails is that they weren't creating a question for the viewer that they wanted to answer, or they were, and the video wasn't answering that question.
Right.
So they were not good thumbnails. Maybe they aesthetically were good.
Yeah.
But they weren't hooking anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that showed up in the analytics.
That's
the
interesting.
thing about YouTube, the irony is I know what it takes to do well in YouTube, but I haven't done it because I hate video editing. Like with a burning passion. I absolutely hate it.
That's really funny. Should I ask you for advice in the future when I'm working on video content?
I'd be happy to share that with you. Like I have a whole document with my content creation philosophy, and YouTube is included in that.
Wow.
The thing is, like, it's funny that you brought up what you just did, because the idea that's been in the back of my mind for a good 6 months is exactly what you just said. My personal experience with retro games, to the point that 3 days ago, I finally set up a plugin in OBS that records only gameplay.
Wow.
So none of the alerts, none of my mic, none of my audio other than gameplay, and gameplay audio will be saved to disk. Like separate of the entire VOD recording itself. So the actual 2 active recordings at once.
Mm-hmm.
And I've set that up because I want to be able to use that for YouTube. Like I don't want like random alerts popping up of a Finny Bear farting his way across the screen while I'm talking about my childhood with this game, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
As funny as that would be, people would be like, what the hell?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing that I had like thought with mine as well. Like, oh, I should capture my screen and then I can edit that in. But then I realized like, oh, if I'm recording this, it's got all my, like, I got that Doom alert that comes up all the time, and I've got like, you know, emotes flying over the screen. So
the plugin is called Source Record.
Okay.
That's it. Just Source Record.
Yeah.
It's not 100%.
Yeah.
It crashes my OBS sometimes when I stop recording.
Right.
But the recordings are fine. But just be mindful that when you hit stop recording, it might crash out your OBS. So don't do that until you're done.
Yeah. So what I figured out I could do is run 2 different instances of OBS.
That's not recommended, but yes, you could do that. You could run a portable container. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I would personally recommend that method, but if it works better for you, do it.
Yeah, I've seen there's a couple of I was trying to work it out, and there's a couple of streamers / YouTubers, and they're pretty popular, and they do that. They run 2 instances of OBS. That's how they do it. Like,
that could work.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the thumb. I don't know if you can see it in the preview. It's probably caught up by now, but that's the thumbnail that I came up with. I can make it bigger if you want.
No. Let me just make my screen bigger. I just have a small one.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's pretty crappy.
I like that gradient you have on the inside.
Yeah, I did that. Like it's like X-ray vision or something like that, right? So
I solved the flaws of Gravis gamepad.
Yeah, it's pretty boring thumbnail. I just slapped this together.
I think the text could be a little more catchy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But otherwise,
like
I like
you
this.
Said.
No, don't change the aesthetic here. Okay,
Yeah.
well, let's not do that.
Not do that.
Dude, that's like old meta,
Yeah.
honestly. The like goofy face thing. I
Yeah.
don't think that works anymore. What's working now is nondescript thumbnails that are distinctive.
Right.
This is that. Less words is better. So if you can make that less words, that's going to be better.
Yeah. So like
that's not
I like
easy
what
to
you
do.
said, like I fixed the worst controller ever or something like that's a good title.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
see that's more, and it's funny because it's more of an absolute statement, even if it's not technically. Like you're basically making an absolute statement about an opinion.
Yeah.
And that gets people to click. Is kind of nonsense as it is. It does work. Because at that point, you're at least just through the thumbnail giving people insight into you, because they are like they know they're like, oh, this guy thinks this controller's awful and he went out and made it better.
Yeah.
Why did he do that? Click, right?
Yeah. So there's probably like I could maybe come up with something a little more interesting as a thumbnail, but I think I like the idea of simplicity. I always liked like some sort of minimalism in the graphic design of stuff. Like I don't, yeah, it's something calming about that, and I don't know if that does well on YouTube though, so it's like finding the right balance. I don't know, I'm still a complete noob. Like my channel has way less videos that are what you've done here, what I'm seeing here is like way more interesting than what I've got, so I got some things to learn still.
I mean, I'm glad that you liked them, but they did poorly.
Yeah.
They all did poorly.
Did you shoot these thumbnails after the stream? Like these are not stills from the stream, right?
I just used this camera and then I right-clicked OBS, full screen projector, so it was 1080p, and then just alt print screened it.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, if you alt print screen, when you hold alt and push print screen, it takes a screenshot of the window in focus only, not your whole desktop.
Very convenient.
So it is super convenient, especially for things like that.
Yeah. I was just looking at your about section on Twitch just to see if you post anything like your tech stack or something like that. Because that's something that people sometimes ask about is like, oh, what camera do you use? What microphone do you use? All that kind of stuff.
I used to have that on there years ago.
Yeah.
It just got too cluttered.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, if people want to know, they can ask me and then we can talk about it. And that's something that you just created channel content, right?
Exactly, yeah. Speaking of, what camera do you use?
So the camera is only half the battle when it comes to that thing. Just like audio.
We're talking
like,
about it before
when people
the
say,
stream.
what's your microphone? And you know as well as I do that that's only half the answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the same with the camera. The other half is the lens and or the capture card.
Yeah.
So it's a Sony a6000. It's decent, but the flip out screen doesn't face forward, so I can't see that from me.
Which
But
camera
the
did you
lens
say
is a Sony a6000.
A6000. Okay.
A is an alpha.
Yep. Yeah, I know the Alpha series, but the 6000.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot about like was the A7?
5100 is the one a lot of people liked to buy.
Right.
Nowadays, I'm not sure because I got it like 2 or 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The lens though is I think the real key. It's a Sigma lens,
Yeah.
16 millimeter 1.4 f stop. So it's a wider lens, which is what I needed because I had a 30 mil too, but it was like my face was like right there. It was like, this is not going to work unless I put it way back there.
Problem with this when the first lens I put on was like ridiculously tight. It's not going to work.
But then, to further that, the other thing that I've seen, people had the exact same camera and lens as me, and their camera looked like ass because they had bad lighting.
Yeah.
If you have bad lighting, it's not going to work. You have to have good lighting. Typically, you want 3 types of lighting. You want a diffusion lighting, so like the big light boxes are pretty popular for that.
Yeah.
I have a LED panel that's on like super bright setting that's pointing at the ceiling. So it bounces off the ceiling and just diffuses everywhere.
Yeah.
And then I have a lamp over there. Just a regular floor lamp. Just some piece of crap from Walmart. And then there's a tiny ring light right there that does like the fill and the bias.
Yeah.
Well, that's the bias. This is like the fill. And then these are
unbiased.
Just for aesthetics.
I've been working. I ordered a light for that.
For the side,
fill.
the side.
Yeah, on this side. So I have the fill light this side, and then nothing on this side. That's just reflection. Any light you get from there is like reflecting off the wall, basically. And then
it's a good camera though. If I turned every light off except the ring light, you could still see me clearly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Mine is.
I do that sometimes for
You do
streams.
that?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I'll do that if I get an ocular migraine midstream, which is why I wear these.
Yeah.
I'll turn every light off except that one.
Is that the most common question you get? Is like glasses?
Most common question I get, yeah, probably, maybe.
Yeah.
Other than what game are you playing, right? Everybody
Right,
gets
yeah.
that question.
I think the question I probably would have asked it if somebody else didn't ask it. It was what's with the glasses? Like, first of all, they look really good, so people ask, what are those glasses, right?
It's more common that they don't actually ask the question, but you know they are. They comment on it
Yeah.
because they like it, you know.
Yeah. It's cool.
But you know they're curious, so it's like it's leading up to that. So I just tell them, like, yo, I wear these because they look cool, but also I get ocular migraines from eye strain.
Yeah.
So.
And is that just like the ocular migraines from eye strain is just because you're basically just sitting here gaming for hours on end, right?
4 or 5 monitors on at all times when I'm streaming, and then all those lights. Eye strain is a big play into that. Hydration has something to do with it too. And when you have ADHD, you forget to eat and drink all the time. So what I thought it was eye strain related when I initially was experiencing this, because it was like 2 to 4 times a month, and it was ruining streams. Because I'd get this like blind spots where I couldn't read chat.
Yeah.
And it would make me disoriented and fatigued. So I would start stuttering a lot more and slurring words, and they get really tired from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I read that it was potentially eye strain related.
Right.
So literally the only change I made was I started wearing shades on stream.
It's great.
And it went from 2 to 4 a month to like 4 to 6 a year.
That's really good improvement.
That was the only change. And they're 99% blue blocking. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Okay. Yeah, I struggled with the blue blocking and all that kind of stuff. Like, for me, for some reason, I just find it uncomfortable to look at stuff with that filter. So.
Dude,
Fireplace
Terrible
would be good.
Hamster has the greatest idea ever. Imagine how cool would that be to stream in that environment?
Hell
where
yeah!
You're like in like
I mean,
like a wood panel floors and walls, and there's like a fireplace, and there's like, you know, like a tiki torch or something.
Oh.
That's your lighting. That would be a really cool scene.
It'd be so cool. I don't know if you could like really pull it off. Like with, I mean, you could with your camera. Obviously, you got good low light.
Oh yeah.
On that thing, but like, yeah, I would love to have like. Obviously, I would never actually spend the money, but like having that kind of room set up with like a roaring fireplace in the background and like, yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love that.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
That'd be a really good environment. E2 dark now with good camera. Like, if you had all your monitors on, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of light.
That's a lot of light.
And then you have the fireplace and then like some kind of like side flame as well. Mm-hmm. That's enough. That's gonna be enough, especially if you have a good camera.
Yeah. Yeah, the A6000 sounds like a beast though. I was gonna pull up.
It's pretty good.
I was gonna search it and bring up some stuff on it, but I forgot to do that. Well, I got too carried away with the conversation.
It's the main things about it that are you need to be cognizant of are it has that like that panel on the back that you can flip, right? But it won't face forward, so I can't see what's on the what's it called, the display. I don't know, the HUD, whatever the heck you want to call it. The OSD. I can't see the OSD.
Yeah, I have the same
when
problem
I'm using it.
So I can.
And the other issue is it overheats.
Oh, it does.
So when it gets really hot in here, I have a little tiny. I have this pointed at it, and then it's fine.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, it's just like a little fan then.
Yeah, it's just got a micro USB connector, so it doesn't run out.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't overheat.
Yeah, this is a nice looking body as well.
It is. It's a nice camera.
Yeah. I have the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera 6K, which is overkill, way overkill. But I got it for really cheap.
When I was shopping, I was just looking at Sonys and Canons because they were the most commonly used by streamers. And I just wanted to kind of stay in that lane because they're proven for this use case.
Sense.
So I don't really know much about that camera.
Yeah, it's So Blackmagic Design, they're like,
I know they do capture cards really well.
Yeah, they do a lot of kit for like video editing and stuff. They make DaVinci Resolve.
Oh, okay.
So these are like cinema camera type stuff.
I didn't know that was them, because I use that. That's my video editing software. Is DaVinci. It's like the best.
Yeah, I really don't need this camera. Like, it's helped already, and I'm learning to use it. But yeah,
let's see. What would I change? You really just need more lighting and maybe a bit more color grading and white balance, and then it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean,
because like behind you looks amazing.
Yeah, that's why I framed it on. I didn't frame it with me in my chair, so that's why I set it all up to. It's like I've got a monitor for it now, an external monitor with which I can connect, and then I still have to set it up so it does the OSD from the camera, and then I can see everything. But I can't.
You know what you could do? You could do what Duke does too, where you have like a game hooked up to one of your CRTs back there on like demo mode or something, or just the game you're playing.
Yeah,
that'd be really cool.
I've been meaning to do that for like a year, or like however long I've been in this space with that set up. I've been meaning to do it. I just never get around to it. It's like I need to get power routed over there properly, so I can have it like without cables all over the floor and stuff. That was my intention with that desk, is to have it all set up so I could like just power things on and play them. Yeah.
I feel like all you really need is a little ring light.
Yeah,
and then I'm gonna just adjust the white balance a little. And then
I got this big thing here, right? If I move that out, that's my big diffuse light.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see.
And then I just need to get something on this side, like basically. I've ordered a light. We'll see. I'll probably get a ring light as well. Yeah, I might replace that with a ring light actually, and see how that looks. Might be a bit easier to manage.
I do a little touch up on the camera. See, that's with it off.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Just a little. It's just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Of saturation and hue.
I've applied a lot. I built a lot. I took some video on this camera, and then went into DaVinci Resolve and generated a lot. Like got the color grading about right, and then generated a lot, and then uploaded that to the camera. And see, it sends that through the it's coming color corrected from the camera to the monitor.
Well, somebody sent me one of those little like handheld screens.
Yeah.
That have the various shades of, from black to white.
I don't have one
for white balancing. So I just hold it in front of the camera and it does like an auto adjustment, and I look at the settings.
Yeah. I've been thinking about buying one for a while. I haven't got one yet.
It's like $8. They're dirt cheap because they're just tiny, and then they just fold in on themselves.
The ones I found are like $30, something like that. So.
You don't need those. Just get a cheap one.
Get a cheap one. Yeah, I think if I press this button, it turns the light on or off, but I don't know if it's gonna work right now.
What does it turn on and off?
The lookup table, the LUT.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't though. I've messed with the settings on the camera, so I don't know what I just pressed. It probably changed something else.
I just use those in OBS filters.
Yeah.
Instead.
Yeah, well, I was doing OBS filters, but I had this problem with we're getting into like bit depth and color and stuff like that, but basically the bit depth of the image that's coming from the camera, I would lose information when it went through the LUT on OBS. But if
they're not 3D
camera,
LUTs.
It comes through clean.
Yeah, they don't do 3D LUTs in OBS.
Yeah. So once I figured that out, it was like, oh, I can get this to look way better. But like I was like, the Logi was like looking almost as good, but now it's like if I switch to the Logi, it's not great.
I mean, it looks really good. The only, like I said, just get like a little tiny ring light that's like this big, and then maybe a little. Let's see. I would, based on your Twitch feed, so
that's
the
what
accuracy.
Because that's the camera. The one you're looking at. Is
your
the other camera.
hue, I would shift your hue a little more to the red, like a tiny bit.
Yeah. Okay. Get a little bit,
because the saturation is fine when I look behind you. Like I can see behind you, the saturation is fine.
Yeah,
like the red and blue are pretty vibrant.
Yeah, that's really popping. And I can also, I got like one of those stupid like, oh, you can play with the colors of your lights in them, the Niwa.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah,
I don't have anything
with
like that.
I'm just gonna try and do it. We'll see if it works.
Chat, we're gonna look at colors. Let's do it.
If I go into like each one, I can change like the red one. I can make it green or something, right?
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that remote access like that. I have just these
I never use
RGB
it.
LED panels.
But I have it.
Integrate that in one of your channel point
I
reductions.
really should. I need to get around. It's like one of those things, you know. Oh, I should get around to
Yeah.
that. Right. The other thing I can
don't
do
know
with
about everyone else here, but if I was a viewer in your channel, I would be using that a lot, like just changing your colors.
Yeah.
No, don't do that flickering. That's bad. Don't ever do that. Yeah. That's not. You're gonna get like epilepsy concerns.
I hope not, but yeah. It's got the option, right, for different scenes, so you can put like, you know, the watching TV effect and stuff like that in there. Yeah, I like the red and blue as well, Evil Alex. I've just left it on that.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Anyway,
I aimed more for colors that are like my emote. So
yeah, I love your emotes, by the way. Did you obviously you commission them? I know you've talked about that before.
Yeah.
You've talked up, I think, the artist that does them for you. But
Don't Madness is the artist. He's one of the most coveted on Twitch. I just kind of lucked into that. Like, that's my superpower is luck. So
nice. Yeah, you have some awesome emotes there. So I guess like that's not really a topic, but it could be if you want to talk about it. I don't have any questions.
Just show, Mike. I'm just gonna answer. What do you want to ask?
I don't have any questions about the emotes.
Oh, I thought you were asking a question about emotes. My bad.
No. I mean, look, what was the process like of commissioning the emotes? There you go. There's a question. I've never done it before. I've always just made my own. Like, because I don't know.
It depends on the emote artist, I guess. Like the bear itself was something I made. Because it was just like 6 or 7 years ago, I went live and posted on Twitter, and I took a picture of a teddy bear that you can kind of see in that corner, wearing my headphones and holding my keyboard. And I was like, oh, that's silly, because the headphones don't go on his ears, you know? Like, it was stupid. Let's put it on the internet.
Yeah.
You know? And then it was like, oh, I'm going to use this, like, silhouette of his face to make, like, a logo, and I colored it blue and magenta, because I think everyone and their mother was using those two colors for everything back then.
Yeah.
And it was like, actually like the color, so I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And so I literally took the photograph and put it in GIMP and made it like just a black and white silhouette, and then colored it. And it ended up looking.
You still
can find it? What that silhouette?
Yeah.
No, not for many years. It's been a long time since I've used that. Let's see. Yeah, I still have it. I'll put it in your DM so you can see it.
I'll grab it. And finding things in Discord's difficult sometimes, I'll tell you that, though. Oh, wow.
Yeah, no kidding.
This looks cool as. I've never seen this. It reminds me of CGA, DOS CGA colors.
Yeah, it does kind of look like that.
Like, not exactly that, but, like, close enough. Looks
Dame
cool.
Karen, you aren't wrong. There's years of video proof of just weirdly lucky things happening to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's it right there. And then, so what I ended up doing with that was two things. I made it my Discord server icon, and people responded positively to that. They're like, "Oh, this is cool." It's like, you know, they liked it, and I put it on like a merch logo too.
Oh yeah,
because I used to call my channel like it was. I had a weird branding back then. I called it Insomniac Game Theater.
Okay.
Like it was still my username, but like that's what we just called it. Because I would stream until like 5 in the morning, you know, not much different than now.
Right. So like in terms of your streaming schedule, you've always streamed like that time frame.
Yeah.
And you called it Insomniac Game Theater because it was. Did you feel like an insomniac, or that was just your hours you're keeping for work?
It was kind of like a play on an old TV show on VH1 called Insomniac Music Theater.
Okay.
They would just play nothing but music videos that were kind of relaxing at like 2 to 4 in the morning or something like that. And my channel was pretty heavy on music back then, so it just kind of was like a parallel branding idea, I suppose. But as the years went on, it was just like, this is confusing.
Yeah.
Like, am I Phenomenon or IGT? And so I dropped it. I was like, it's enough. Like, I just want to be known as me, not as this thing. It's way easier for people to identify with that.
Yeah. So when you like, you were always Phenomenon, or did you change that over time somewhere?
I've had that name since 1998.
Wow, that's
It
phenomenal.
was a high school nickname.
It was a high school nickname. Wow.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. It's a portmanteau of the word phenomenon and something else.
Yeah.
But if I said that something else, it might be giving things away that I don't
Yeah, you don't want to give
want to
anything
say.
away. That's fine. I know the feeling. Like, it's funny when people ask, like, what's your real name and stuff like that. Like,
Nope.
why would you ask that? Like,
Sorry.
I'm not going to answer that. Like, I
Like,
mean,
why
my
do you
name's
need
Mike.
that
That's all
info?
you're getting, right? So,
Like, I have a P.O. box, you know, like there's barriers.
yeah,
there.
exactly.
That's not info anyone really needs.
No. I've seen some weird... What's the weirdest chat? Because, like, I've seen some weird stuff, like, in some people's channels that I'm a member of. Like, I hang out there all the time. And, people say things like, to these streamers, like they ask them really weird personal questions, like, especially, I've noticed it with girls, you know, with women, it happens a bit
It
more,
happens a
but
lot more to women.
I also
yeah.
have had it
Way
happen
more.
to, like, male friends, or like, oh,
Yeah.
what race are you? Like,
That's you don't
What?
ask people that question.
like,
There's no reason to ever ask anyone that question, basically.
what's
None at
what's
all.
the weirdest one you've gotten? Like, what's the one that made you go, like, wait, what?
I don't know, like, it's hard to say because my memory is dismal.
Yeah, well,
And usually when we get weird stuff like that, I either ignore it or just ban them.
yeah,
Just pay no mind.
yeah.
Like it's like in one ear and out the other almost instantly for me. So it's really hard to say.
Yeah,
I
that's
think I
okay.
had some idiot. There was some idiot who would just come into chat and like put like porn search terms into chat. Like he was typing it into Google. And I was like, the first time I was like, haha, very funny. You know, like it wasn't explicit, but it was something he would type like hentai videos, you know, or something like that. And it was
Yeah.
like, okay, like
Yeah.
very funny. But then he kept doing it. I'm like, this is weird. And
Yeah.
then, not surprisingly, I saw him in the Andy Gaming Network's channel, and he just dropped like one of the most racist things I've ever seen anyone say, and Andy just nuked
Oh
him.
my
And I
God,
went to
yeah.
my channel and banned him too. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's something a lot of people don't realize on Twitch is when you do something bad in one channel and there are other streamers in that channel,
Yep.
they're going to ban you in their channel and probably tell others if it's bad enough. And
Exactly.
you end up getting banned in like dozens of channels.
Yeah, and now Twitch have features built in to support that. Like,
Mhm.
you don't even need to tell me if I've shared my ban list with you. We don't need to tell each other anymore. It's like, hey, I
Right.
banned this guy. If they show up in your chat, it's like, warning, this
It'll
person's
say,
been
yeah.
banned in so-and-so's channel. Like,
Yeah. I've had that happen a lot, and I'll be like, oh, shoot. And then I'll send a DM to that streamer. I'm like, hey, what's the story here? And they'll
Yeah.
usually have the receipts, like they'll have screenshots or
Yeah.
chat logs. And it's
Yeah.
like, thank you, ban. Like,
if you know what's up, you know what's up, and then that's great, because like that helped a lot actually, because there was like sometimes somebody gets banned because they like spoiled a game or something. It's like, okay,
right.
all right, I get it. Like, yes, definitely ban them because that's what you don't want to have happen. But if
Right.
they haven't done it to me, I'm not really gonna respond. But it's like if they've said like racial slurs or like whatever, like, yeah, get out of here. I don't want you here. You know, straight
Right.
up.
Yeah. That goes to the point that I think a lot of growing streamers are struggling with too, is they don't protect their boundaries as much as they should. As like I said before, viewers are smart. They know when you're not having a good time, right?
Mhm.
They also know when you're uncomfortable, and that's going to make them uncomfortable too. And if you keep abiding that kind of behavior in your channel, they're just going to leave. They're not going to tell you.
Oh yeah.
They're just going to leave.
Absolutely. Like, there's no point in hanging around in a place that you're not feeling comfortable, right? And if the stream is not comfortable, you're gonna pick up on that.
Yeah.
Like, why would you hang around? So yeah.
Like I assume basically everyone watching is smart enough to make adult decisions, and like,
Yeah. Well,
they're gonna notice these things.
I
Well,
will-
I mean that's why this is a conversation topic, because the people who aren't smart enough to make those decisions are notable for being, you know, below the standard deviation, right?
yeah, no, you're not wrong. It's just I don't know. Some people like, yeah, I don't know. It's probably performative sometimes, like that, like
Right.
that attitude. But it's like, you know,
Right, they want me to rise sometimes, like, and it doesn't work on me. Like, when somebody does something like that, it's usually just delete or ban. Like me and my mods have just this standing agreement that if that happens, we don't comment on it ever.
Yeah,
We just get in the butt and move on.
yeah.
And if someone in chat's like, "What was that?" and we're just like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. It's no big deal." You know, like they're just not worth the attention, like, or the energy.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it can be funny on reflection, but for the most part, like conflicts in the chat, I've been very fortunate. I gotta admit, I've been super fortunate. Like,
You have a pretty well-behaved community.
Yeah.
I've rarely seen any issues here.
I think the tone gets set very well by the people who are active there as well. So
Yeah.
it's just like,
Yeah, your community does that whole like just vibe check very well.
yeah, it's very good, and I owe a lot to like the people who helped me build that with like streaming. Like when I started streaming and started having people come in regularly, like those regulars have really helped set that tone. And I do find like sometimes with like some of the regulars I have that some of them can set a tone that like can seem a little bit standoffish or something like that if people don't know who they are and the dynamic that we already have. So I can see why some people might feel uncomfortable with some of those situations, but I think it pretty quickly becomes diffused once if you hang around long enough. You get to know the people, so yeah.
I mean, yeah, like I said, like obviously, you know, people are going to troll, but like there's good trolls and there's bad trolls. Almost everyone's a good one. Like they're teasing, they're lighthearted, you know, they're in on the joke. That's the vibe check, right? Like, is the vibe okay with that kind of thing? Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
right. So
there's a lot of good comments in the chat about this. So yeah, it's
the Mike
interesting.
Fan
to read
Hive. Mike's chat makes him spend all his money on games and hardware.
Yep, it's true. It's true.
Oh man.
Yeah, we had a recent experience with that. There was this computer that I was looking at, and I did not. I thought the first time I saw it, I was like, "This looks horrible. Why would anybody want this?" And then I didn't stop thinking about it, and I went back and looked at it. Like, let me look a little bit closer at this. Oh, that's interesting.
Little character to it.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, I like that.
Oh no.
It's pretty deep, and I didn't realize it had that feature. Okay. And so I was like, I like went from like this is horrible to like, oh, I kind of want this, to like I'm going to bid on this. And then I did bid on it, and I didn't get it. But I think I suspect the seller pumped it because they relisted it like right away. They relisted it after the auction. Somebody won the auction, but it's now relisted. So yeah, I don't know.
What was it?
It's pretty rough.
You know what was it?
It's look, I'll just share it, and if somebody buys it, then great. But I mean, I sent them an offer, and they said no to my offer, and they did a counter offer, which was way too much money.
Oh man, Bort. Yeah, I agree with Refraction.
Sorry, sorry everybody.
Like the streamer does curate the community that's basically based on their values. Because again, viewers just kind of pick up on that stuff.
Yeah,
they go to a channel and it's just like toxic. If they're cool with that, they'll stick around, and if they're not, they're gonna notice right away and probably not stick around.
Yeah. So if you poke an eye on my stream, you'll see this machine. So like the ugliest, like this footprint is ugly. I think like it looks.
What is that thing on the side of it?
That's the floppy disk.
Oh, that's the whole system?
Yeah, that's the entire system. So
I was okay because like immediately I'm having the same reaction as you. I'm like, what is that?
It's ugly, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't really want that on your desk, but then
no, not really.
So in that floppy drive compartment, the hard drive is also in there.
Okay.
Okay, so it's like a fully complete 386 computer with two ISA ports.
Oh wow.
So it's got right angle ISA ports, which hopefully your stream's not too far behind. You'll be able to see that.
Yeah, I do.
So these
No,
right
it's like
angle
maybe a
ISA ports,
second
one
delay.
below and one on top. So you can put a sound card and a graphics card in there. 386 era computing, so probably not going to do with a Voodoo.
It's a weird design, but it's like got features, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a strange idea, but it's like obviously inspired by the likes of the Amiga and the Commodore,
Right. I was gonna say that reminds me of that.
But it's just like a weird thing to see for an Intel based system to do something like this. Yeah, very strange.
What an odd
approach.
beast that is.
So-
I think that the retro PC I had total with all the parts and the case was maybe just north of 400
Yeah.
US dollars.
So they're asking 900 Australian, which is probably
That's like what, 700-ish US dollars?
650-ish, maybe 600, 650-ish range, I think.
Is it that disparate? Okay.
Yeah. So when I saw it initially, it was 99 cents on auction.
Yeah.
I was like, my estimate 350. Ended up selling for 666. But then
That's
obviously
too much.
they canceled that sale, and now they've relisted it. So I don't know. what
Oh
happened.
wow.
They've relisted it at 900 Australian dollars, which is like more than the auction went for. Way
Weird.
more.
I wonder if they just got greedy.
They're just being greedy. This person just doesn't want to let it go for a low price, which is like fine. I sent them an offer. I thought it was a reasonable offer, and they said no. And they replied with like an offer of like basically the same as their asking price. So I was like, whatever, man. Yeah.
I mean, that thing is absolutely a novelty, but it's not a 900 Australian dollar novelty.
No. No. A $400 build for what you've got with the Voodoo in it, you've done very well, I think.
It was like, yeah, it was in there.
Yeah.
The most expensive thing naturally was the Voodoo. I think that was like 120.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
The
that's
3D
even
effect, because it was
fairly-
a 3D effects 12 megabyte Voodoo 2.
Okay, yeah. No, I love the Voodoo hardware. I haven't. I think I've got 3 or 4 Voodoos, but I haven't got any of them installed in a PC right now. So I'm not even sure how functional they are right now. They were working when I last used them. So I'll have to.
It's been nice.
Yeah.
It's run these games pretty well, the ones I've played on it.
Yeah.
And obviously half the ones I played are just straight VGA and they don't
Mhm.
use it.
Yeah. The XP machine build that I'm doing is a 486. Sorry, not 486. It's a Pentium 4.
Okay, I was gonna say, wait a minute.
Yeah, the XP machine is a Pentium 4 build, but I do have.
I don't even know. Would it even run XP?
You know what? It might. I don't know. You can get some. No, I don't know. Probably not. Probably not.
I don't think so, but maybe.
But yeah, this machine here, the one that's on the edge of the
P4,
frame,
yeah.
that's a Pentium 2 or 3. I think it's a P2. So it's probably similar spec to what you've got, but the graphics card in there is a piece of junk and has no sound card. So I'm probably going to put a Voodoo in there if I can. I need to get a better 2D graphics card and put the Voodoo in there and a decent sound card. It'll make a great machine. It's perfect for like a Windows 95 DOS machine.
I've been like casually interested in the idea of an XP machine, but I don't think there's enough games in that era for me that I'm really hooked into.
Yeah.
But there are some games that I've wanted to play that are definitely retro PC that this system will not run. Like Nox is one I've always been interested in seeing what that's like. But this is just a bit too slow. Or like Longest Journey doesn't run very well on it.
Right.
It just doesn't have enough CPU horsepower for it,
Longest
or
Journey
even
would
GPU.
not. Yeah. I think you probably want to go for something a little higher end than what you got.
Yeah, and I just don't have room, physical space for it
Mhm.
for another system. Like there's like when I do retro PC nights, I'm literally running 3 PCs.
No joke. I think you should just get yourself a freaking old laptop, dude,
Maybe
to run those games on, because you can get like
it's
an
not
old.
comfortable though.
What do you mean?
Like I've never enjoyed an experience using a laptop.
I mean, with a decent dock, like you could spend some money, get a dock and a laptop. It probably costs about that $400 mark for a decent gaming machine. And then
I don't know. Maybe it's just like I don't like laptops generally,
me either.
and I would
hate
need
spending money
an
on laptops.
external keyboard and mouse just to stand using it. And
Oh, yeah.
Then I would
don't-
have to output the video
Yeah.
away from the screen. Like it's a console at that point. Like I just It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I would say don't use any of the ergonomics from the laptop. Just
Right.
dock it and plug your everything into that, and like get the outputs from the dock and everything. Just don't touch. You're not using the laptop for the laptop feature.
Right.
You're using it because it's a compact hardware piece of hardware that you can shove on a shelf when you're not using it. Like, you know, that's what I would do. So, I mean, if I wasn't already enthusiastic about building more PCs, that's what I would do.
Yeah, for me, space is a premium right now.
Yeah.
You should see my cables. Oh my
I won't even
God.
mention my cables. It's pretty horrendous.
Dude, just the audio cables alone would make people scream.
Yeah. Every time I've taken a picture of any part of my setup, people are like, whoa, that cable management, like, it's horrible. So I'll deal with it when I get it done. When it's done, I'll deal with the cable management then, but it's not done yet. Like, yeah. Gotta rework my lighting situation, get this stuff. Yeah, anyway. Oh wait, I could go on and on about this stuff because it's one of those things, it's like a rabbit hole.
Like, I feel like there's merit to the idea, but I don't want a laptop.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. How long have we been talking? I think we've been talking for 2 hours-ish. So
Yeah.
not bad. Was there something I wanted to ask you? This is a question I thought, like, secret talents of Finamenon. What are they? Like, because you haven't shared everything on. You don't. Can you ride a unicycle or fight a velociraptor barehanded? Like, what's your special skill that you haven't shared with us?
I was trained to disarm knives and sidearms barehanded.
That's badass.
It was interesting.
Was it legit, or would you say it was
Yeah.
kind of scary?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, that too.
Uh-huh.
I mean, when you're disarming a knife, you're gonna get cut. You have to own that.
Yeah.
You just will. Sidearms, probably. If they're in front of you, I can get the gun away pretty easily.
Oh man.
If they're far away, you do what they tell you to do.
Yeah. It's a terrifying thing. I think, like, yeah, that the idea of that is.
Well, I never had to put it into practice, thankfully, but I can't give any more like strict details on all of that. But we learned that in pressure point control, which I always thought was like movie magic until I experienced it and did it.
Like Aikido style stuff, or
Similar, yeah.
yeah.
There
sounds
are
weird.
legitimate pressure points on the body that
Yeah.
just make you scream pain when
Yeah.
you get hit by them, like with them.
When I saw people doing actual Aikido, I was like, that looks like movie fake, but
It's not.
yeah, like yeah.
Have you ever sprained your wrist before?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've
Okay, you know how it feels like there's like
mm,
like a knife in there.
mm,
So when they do that pressure point control on your wrist, that it feels like you just sprained your wrist. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just like a knife. You're just like like you can't do anything else. Like you
Yeah.
are under their control.
yeah. No, I have been fortunate not to have been manhandled in that way, but I've definitely caused damage to my body with
It was
sprained wrists.
It
and
was
stuff, yeah.
it was an interesting experience.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Vulcan tech. That one wasn't one of the points. The shoulder. Though I have gotten that one to work before, but
Right.
they typically have to be skinny or
Uh-huh.
very not muscular. The worst one was here. That
Yeah.
little pit behind your ear.
Yeah.
If you get a finger in there the right way and do the right thing, nobody's gonna resist anything.
Hmm.
Like they're in your control. That's the
That's
worst
wild.
one.
That's wild. So that's obviously your security background coming into the foreground. there.
Yeah.
So you've never, like, obviously streaming doesn't give you the opportunity to share that stuff very much, right?
No. I mean,
Yeah.
I got a lot of stories from that job, but
Yeah.
um,
Any cool
obviously the
weird
skills
ones?
I learned from it that
Uh-huh.
mostly don't translate, other than the front-facing customer service aspect of it, was exceptionally useful. Right, Moggy? What's the little guy want? He's gonna steal the show. What are you saying now? You asked any what?
Oh, I was just asking, like, you said you had some cool stories. Is there anything that you wanted to share about, like, you know, maybe an NBA player or something like that? Anything you're allowed to share? I don't know if there was NDAs involved there.
I mean, there's definitely some I'm not allowed to share.
Hmm.
Even though I don't work there anymore, I'm still, you know, like,
Still
I'm not going to
respect
burn
it,
that
yeah.
bridge. Yeah, like, those people were awesome to me,
Yeah.
and I will never betray that.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. Your story, the background you gave us was, like, really enlightening for me, because I don't think I've ever talked to you in that depth before.
Specific artists, when we worked concerts, had really weird writers. You weren't allowed to make eye contact with Neil Diamond, and I had to put that into practice because I was walking through the talent corridor once, and he was just standing there talking to his promoter, and they saw me come. They're like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'm just looked straight ahead. I'm like, "What's up, guys?" Never made eye contact.
Wow.
Like, okay. Madonna brought her own toilet. That was interesting. But really, when you think about it, is that really out of character for someone like her? No.
I mean, I
But it
guess
was like,
not,
yeah,
but I
okay.
never thought of it before.
Right. Why would you? But also, it's like, no, that tracks. That definitely tracks.
Yeah, okay.
Let's see, what else? Baseball Hall of Famer Randy Johnson is a photographer now.
Oh.
He was touring with Rush as their photographer.
Wow.
I didn't recognize him at first because I was working in the green room where they all eat, like their catering was. And I was the security door guy. And their head of security's like, no one gets in without tickets. I'm like, no one? He's like, no one. Perfect. It's the easiest job in the world. Yes or no, right? There's no stipulation. So someone comes up to me who's 6'8". He's like, can I go in there? He's got like 3 cameras. I'm like, no, you gotta have a ticket. It's like, really? He's really soft spoken. Like, yeah, I was like, the head of security, he can get you one if you want to go in.
This is amazing.
If you want. He's like, oh, okay. And like someone there's like, you know who that was, right? I'm like, you look familiar. He's like, that's Randy Johnson. I'm like, oh God, I thought so. He's like one of the best pitchers ever to play Major League Baseball. Like,
Wow.
legitimately.
Yeah.
Dude is a mountain. Like, he's like 6'8". He's huge.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what that is, and I think that's like what?
6'8".
Like
That's
3.5 meters. I think that's like 3.5 meters or something like that.
No. 3.5 meters is like 12 or 13 feet or something ridiculous.
Oh no, 2.5 meters. Sorry, like because 2 meters is like what, 6 something?
Yeah, it's
I
about
think.
6. Yeah, if you're 6 foot, you're around
He's
180.
over 2 meters tall.
190 centimeters, 180. I forget exactly where it is. In that range, 2 meters ish.
He's over 2 meters tall. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow,
he's
that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
I'm trying to picture
I
that.
had to do the same thing to some like wrestler during a UFC event.
Oh wow.
It was like it was a bunch of the lady fighters were all like hanging around this guy talking to him, and they all looked really excited, and I didn't know who he was. And they all went to go in the green room, and they were able to because they had their like wristbands, but he didn't. And I was like, oh, you can't come in. And one of them, she's like, oh, he can go in, can he? I'm like, no, sorry. Like, just kind of smiled at her. She's like, okay. He's like, no, it's cool. Like, he was cool about it.
Yeah.
Apparently it was some guy called CM Punk who had no idea who he was.
Yeah, I'm not a wrestling fan, so I wouldn't know, but I mean,
no idea.
Yeah.
But apparently he was pretty popular in both wrestling and UFC.
Wow.
6 foot is 180 centimeters. He was much more than 6 foot. He's like 6'8".
Yeah, you said 6'8". Sounds like that's...
He's massive.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm like this, looking up at him. Like, he had to duck to walk in the door. Like, he's tall.
Jeez.
Like basketball play. He's like tall. Like basketball players are like 6'6" ish on average, and he's taller than them. Yeah, he's a pitcher.
Pitcher. So he went from pitching to taking pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's pretty good at it too. Like, I don't know if it's public anymore, but he had an Instagram that he would post all his pictures on, and it was like really good stuff.
Yeah, at least I got a couple of laughs in the chat.
Yeah, he's always doing this, being a goof.
He's great.
He says no touch. See?
Oh.
I pet him and he says no.
Yeah. See, my cats are not impatient with sitting in here with me. Like when I'm talking, they're like, "Stop talking, I'm out of here." If I'm working and I'm quiet, they're happy to just lie on the desk or lie back in the bed I got back there. They'll do that. But as soon as I start talking, they're out of here. I don't know. I guess they just hate my voice. Oh well.
Initially, my cats couldn't stand it when I went live because I'd be much louder.
Mm-hmm.
But they've learned pretty quickly that they get a lot of attention when I'm live.
Yeah.
So
The chat's
they come
forcing
up
you to
here
feed
and
them and
yeah, they get treats and a lot of attention. And this little guy,
I love that.
yeah, he does that. He's a good communicator. He's like, no, don't touch me.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we have our cats are still fighting occasionally, but they've really settled in. We only just got the new one like a little while ago, a month or something, month or two.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's settled in really, really well, but they still get into each other occasionally. So we'll see.
This is the funny part. Like, just to read chat, I have to like constantly do this when they're here.
Yeah.
Like,
So, yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about? Because I kind of like exhausted the things I was planning to talk about pretty quickly, and then we've kind of coasted on other stuff. So, you have any questions or anything I should have asked you or anything like that?
I think like at this point, like I was just here for the ride, so like we could answer chat questions
Absolutely,
or move
yeah.
on if whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I just want to
I
make
know
sure
like chat has questions.
you didn't
too
have like an
sometimes.
announcement that you want to share with us or anything like that, so that you got your opportunity to have it to drive the conversation a bit. But yeah,
I mean, I just took a week off of streaming to do a bunch of like work on back end stuff, like moving my entire alert system to a new bot.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
So I'll
you
be
were
back.
talking about regular expressions, and I was like, I didn't know you.
Oh
Yeah.
God, dude.
How long
I
have you
don't
known about
understand
regular
that
expressions?
I mean, I've known about them. I don't know how to do them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to set up an alert for my bot or not an alert. Like, whenever a specific bit amount happens, I want TTS to read, but not read specific elements of the message. And that's why I need regular expression. And I don't know how to do that. I know the bot can, but I have no idea how.
Yeah.
But anyway, like, I'm going to be back on schedule for next scheduded stream. So
Okay,
like
great.
I took the week off to just crunch away at a lot of stuff.
Work this stuff out, yeah. Well, if you want some help with that sort of stuff, like with your bots integration and all that kind of thing, I'm sure there's plenty of people who would happy to help. So
But if they know Firebot, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I need. It's got its own, like, I don't know, commands or arguments or whatever you call it.
yeah,
So
it sounds like they've exposed like the programmery part to the
Yes.
user, which is good for people who know it. But if you don't know it,
yeah.
it can be a real pain.
But yeah, I was working on that and a lot of other stuff.
Yeah,
Just like my to-do list was mountainous, and when that happens, I just take time off.
yeah.
I don't like vacations. I like staying busy, so I just don't stream and stay busy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tend to find when I take time off of work, I only sit still for a couple of days, and then it's like, oh, I'm gonna just work on this thing. Like I also can't really stop. So
Yeah, I lose my mind. I go stir crazy.
yeah. So open it up to the chat. Does anybody have anything
Yeah.
else they want to ask? I see has asked, can Mike see? I can see. I can.
You can see. Okay, wonderful. Good to know.
Regular
With
expressions.
plugins, all things are possible. I don't even think it needs plugins. It's just built into the bot.
Mhm.
It's all integrated.
A good bot should be able to do a lot without plugins. Yeah. Yeah. So if anybody has any questions in the chat, please pop them in now. If you want to ask Finn or me, preferably Finn, but if you want to ask me a question, maybe that'll spark a little bit more conversation too. Technology, gaming, collecting, streaming, any of that stuff. We've talked about it all already, so if you have any specifics about stuff we have talked about, feel free to drop them in the chat. How many cats do you have, Phenomenon? Just the two?
I have two. This is Mog. He was named by the community.
Oh,
When
wow, I
we
did not
got
know
him, we took suggestions from the community for names. Me and my roommate. There was like 30 names. We narrowed it down to the 4 we liked the most, and then let the community vote on which one.
That's great.
And
It's
so
a Mog
Mog
one out.
Yeah.
Look how peaceful he looks right now too.
His
do you have,
tail
like,
is smacking me.
Is there some heat coming off of your monitor that he's warming on?
No, I think he wants me to feed him.
Yeah.
Is what he's doing. He just wants something.
Yeah.
Like, because he's making himself visible, but also this is behavioral mirroring.
Mm-hmm.
Cats like to be part of the group, and I'm always staring in this direction at all these things, so he and the other cat do that too.
Oh wow. Cat psychology as well, huh? I have never learned that. That was from Duncaneer, by the way, the cat question. Regan is asking, what temperature light is recommended to get good color saturation? I make fused beads and I hate the way it looks.
I usually aim for like 6 to 6600.
Right.
Like just as close to white as you can get.
I eyeball it through the camera.
If you have halogen lights in your room, that's gonna mess it up.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I specifically will refuse to ever buy any light bulbs or any lights that do that. Because it just makes everything look yellow and crappy.
Yeah, no, halogen lights tend to be pretty horrible. I agree with that. I've used LED lights for everything, except for I'm using the CF bulbs for the.
I've got one of those, I think, in my lamp.
Yeah. The CF bulbs.
Yeah,
are okay.
camera. Yeah. Mog's here.
I'm just trying to catch up. So.
yeah, I go for about 6,000 to 6,600 temperature.
There you go.
Because that's pretty close to white, and that means you can color it however you want, and after the fact, with either secondary lights or filters or color grading.
Ivanov 160 is asking, how long does guest stream on Twitch? And so I'm thinking, how long have you been streaming on Twitch? It was 7 years, right?
7, just over 7, and since February 2016.
Ooh,
was when I started.
Yeah, okay. Wow, it's time moves too quickly, doesn't it?
It's kind of blows my mind that I've been doing this long, because I've never really done anything that long and not got sick of it.
That's a thing that I was going to mention when we were discussing ADHD stuff. Is like, I never stick to stuff unless it's like really got my attention somehow. So for me to be streaming this long as I have been is kind of like a surprise to me. Me to stick with it. Like, I've taken up many hobbies over the years, and like some have lasted months and some have lasted maybe a year, but not like 2 to 3 years. It's pretty good for me. Delamorte is asking, did we ask any MIDI questions, like what's your favorite MIDI module? And hello. Hi, Delamorte. Do you have a favorite MIDI module? Do you even...
Nice to meet you, Delamorte. I'm sorry to say I don't know. I've never actually had an occasion to use one, but I've always had kind of like a passive interest in how they work. Because I know people that love that stuff.
Yeah.
And I know it's not exactly the same thing, but I always, at least for this retro PC, wanted one of those Rolands, that does MIDI sound.
That's exactly what we're talking about, yeah.
What is it, the 32 or MT32 or something?
Yeah, the MT32 or the CM32, I think there's...
that's the one I was like, man, I really like how games sound through that.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that, but like, maybe I would actually say the SC55 is my favorite, because there's a lot broader stuff that's composed directly for that, whereas the MT32 is very specific for a specific era and region of games kind of thing, so...
Yeah,
MT32 is awesome. I love it, but for broader use, the SC55 is really good.
Interesting. I think the reason my mod picked the sound card I have is because it does something called OPL 3 or whatever really well.
Yeah, you want OPL 3, yeah. I was just doing some eBay shopping for sound cards recently, and getting a lot of advice from chat, and I was like, I kind of know roughly what I want to look for, but I do not have that depth of knowledge that some of the people, like IndieCat in the chat right now has. So,
the retro hardware stuff was a new world to me, because like I said, I own an actual PC until '99.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and so I went.
Well, okay, not 100% true. When I was 7, my mom bought a Tandy 2000.
Oh, that's awesome, though. That's really
like 1989 or 90 or something like that. And that's when I played my first ever PC game, which was Heroes Quest, which they changed the name to Quest for Glory.
They had to. you know why?
Yeah, they got sued. They got
Mhm.
sued. There was like
Yeah.
some board game or some nonsense.
Yeah. So you've heard of Warhammer, right? Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah, I've never played it.
Like Hero Quest is like the proto Warhammer thing.
Really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
The minis that they use in Hero Quest board game are they're exactly what were in some of the early Warhammer.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, so Hero Quest was that, and then they did do PC releases. So I don't think it was the board game specifically that had the copyright.
Just the trademark itself.
But there was also PC games that were launched with that.
Yeah, at that point, that's trademark.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the difference between copyright and trademark. Because copyright is just like, oh, I'm Mike, I wrote a book. Whether I did anything or not, it's copyrighted. Like trademark is like this is like registered as like a recognizable brand, and you have to register it with like a government agency, and it's protected in that way. So that's the main difference between the two. And it sounds like Hero Quest was legitimate trademark.
Yeah. I'm just checking the chat, see if there's anything else that came up, but there's definitely a lot of really fascinating stuff we could have covered, I guess, in more depth with regards to like actual games that you're playing and stuff like that. But I guess we can do another chat sometime in the future as well.
Sounds good.
Yeah, Delamorte is just commenting on the CT 1600, what you want for most stuff. Probably
noisy.
The best of all worlds. Okay, that's interesting. Delamorte is one of those people I would trust to give good advice on a synth module.
Is it
looking for one?
Is it noisy from like EMI, RFI, and poor shielding internally, or can you like filter that out with like ground loop isolators? Because that's my solution to almost everything audio is like, oh man, this sounds like crap coming from my PC. I'll buy a GLI and then it's fine.
I haven't,
even though it's not technically a ground loop.
Yeah. Look, I couldn't answer that myself, but I haven't had that kind of trouble.
That's good.
So
you encounter that a lot when you use rack-mounted audio and mixers like me and two PCs, because you have a lot of loops going in there.
Imicat says Sound Blast 16 greater than Sound Blaster Pro. I agree, Imicat.
That's the one I have, is Sound Blaster 16. I like it. It's nice. The output is noisy. Okay.
Yeah, and I would say some of that noise is probably like you kind of maybe want to maintain it because it kind of gives you that.
That's character
retro.
like Sega Genesis, like grungy sound.
Yeah. Sounds
Makes
a lot
sense.
fuller than most others. Imicat said about the CT 1740. I think that's what Imicat's referring to. But anyway, yeah. Because I don't think either of us have the depth of knowledge, and we need to have a long conversation about audio equipment.
I can be in the conversation but not contribute much to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I could definitely have fun chatting about it, but I'm not gonna.
Well, sound cards. When it comes to audio, I'm pretty good, but
Uh-huh.
like the sound cards specifically,
Right.
like I've done audio consoles for streamers, a lot of them,
Mm-hmm.
but like the retro sound card stuff, I'm just like, I like my 16.
So why is your
like how it
OBS
sounds.
not vertical channels yet then?
Honestly, it's just because it was always that way.
Yeah. I don't blame
But
you.
like once we had that initial conversation, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna change it.
Yeah.
I need to see more.
Yeah, it's so convenient.
Like it literally, like in 7 years, the thought just never crossed my mind. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
It was just like, this is just how it is.
Yeah.
Knowing that I could change it, and I just never even considered it.
It took me over 2 years, I think, before maybe around about 2 years, maybe a bit less than 2 years, before I was like, I should change that. Like, I knew the option existed, but I didn't bother doing it. And then when I did, I was like, I should have done this day one. It's so much better. Oh, we just got a raid as well. Death Clonic, thank you for the raid.
Heck yeah.
We are, I think we're good. So if there's anything else you want to chat about, like we should definitely queue up another time to have a chat. I think. Did you?
Sure.
If you want to.
Yeah, I'm always down. I like being on other channels. I like to do it.
Badass.
My ideal would be once a month, like at somewhere on Twitch.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm except I'm having people come to me once a month, which is the way it works well for me because like well the only problem I have is there's like I want to talk to a lot of people, so I'm like, should I do it fortnightly? I'm like, no, I can't handle that. It's too much.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Just did an 8-hour stream, Deathclonic. Wow. That's awesome.
I understand how hard it is to organize that, because I ran a D&D campaign on my channel for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And we ran weekly. We only missed, like, I think 5 weekends for a year and a half, which
That's
is
amazing.
It's ridiculous. Like, that never happens. But, like, getting everybody
Yeah.
for a show, like, I had alternate players so that I could always run a show, you know? So that helped a lot. But, man, there's so much work just getting people together every week. Literally every week. All on camera and set up in a layout.
So much work. I can't imagine it. I did...
Because I was running a D&D campaign and the entire production at the same time.
That's a lot of work. Like, you think that's not a lot of work.
work.
Some people in chat are like, oh, that doesn't sound like that much work. Like, maybe running
too
D&D.
much work.
It's a lot of work.
Because, like, my D&D layout wasn't, like, just, like, a random, like, window capture of Roll20. Like, I had custom layouts, and, like, I made looping videos for, like, every place that they went to, and I had made my own maps and had soundtracks. Like, everything. I did the whole production. It was nuts.
Yeah. Oh, we got Vitamin in the chat.
Yo, Bitterman.
Another
right there.
Future, hopefully, guest on this when I get the...
Oh,
I've
yeah,
already
you should
queued
get
up, I
Bitterman
think, 2 or 3
in the slot.
people at this point after you. So I'm, like, really filling up my year quickly. So it's really fun, though. I love these chats.
It's good stuff. I liked hanging out when you had Julie on.
Yeah, it was a good time. She was
She
amazing.
she was interesting. She had a lot of cool stuff to say.
I could have easily asked like another 3 hours worth of questions, I reckon, but I was like, I was hitting my physical limits because you know, my hours where I work through the day and then I stream, so I'm already, you know, done when I start the stream.
That sounds like a lot of work, Rob. Oh my goodness.
Book 3 different streamers every week for a game show. That is a lot of work. Yeah.
That's the scheduling. I don't think people understand just how hard that is.
Yeah. No, I looked into doing a D&D thing, and I tried to rope other people in to help out with it, but I was like, ultimately, I can't organize this right now. I just too busy.
Yeah.
And then
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's too much work, honestly.
yeah.
That's why you see like people who do D&D successfully on Twitch. They're almost always a group of people doing it, not just one person like I was. Which eventually it was like, hey, I started asking like mods or like people I knew to help me like make maps, you know,
Yeah.
or do other just little bits and pieces here to help me out, just to keep it moving, because it was too much work.
It's a lot. Like, it's a whole lot. And even if you did get to offload like a lot of that work, like 1.5 years, you must have been exhausted.
Oh, I was really burnt out from it at the end, but it was worth it. It was a really good time.
Earbud. I apologize. Got caught
Yeah,
on
that's what I ran. Valen was Pathfinder, which I'm not the biggest fan of anymore. It's there's too much crunch in it. Like, it's just over bloated with content and math. So.
That's one thing about tabletop gaming is the math, man.
Well, that's why I like 5th edition. They've basically like simplified a lot of it.
Okay.
The best way I've heard it described is that they let the rules move out of the way of the game itself so you can play it.
Yeah.
It's just a lot more approachable and easy to get into.
I started with D&D 3rd edition is where I like first played D&D, and that was a very complex system.
Yeah, it was.
So many.
Pathfinder is like D&D 3.75 basically.
Right.
It's good. It's the best version of 3 IMO, but it's still 3, right? So
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of like non-D&D tabletop systems you can play as well, which I've like dabbled with, but the big problem I have with it now is just like I don't have the time or the right friend group to run a campaign or play a campaign. So
right.
yeah, just
That's the true end boss of every tabletop campaign is the schedule.
yeah. Yeah, indeed it is. Well, I think it's time to say thank you to Finamenon, everybody.
Right on.
So thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate it. Thanks for having Mog on as well. We needed to have the cat time. Very good. I honestly feel like there's still... We could definitely dig deeper on some of these topics. So if you wanted to come back for another chat in, I don't know,
Yeah, I'm down.
maybe a
Obviously,
6 months,
when
a year
you
from now, and
when you get through some more people and you got a spot, let me know.
yeah,
And we'll come up with some things.
I may have to do a panel type thing maybe at some point. That might be a good way to get more
Panels
people coming back.
Are a good idea.
Yeah.
As long as you can wrangle the cameras, which with guest star now is easier than ever.
Yeah, it might actually be something we can pull off.
Guest star, I don't know if they've added this new feature yet, by the way, anyone that's interested in using it or not. Static layout, camera layouts is something they're adding. So if you have like 4 people on and somebody drops, the layout will just stay that way so that you don't have to mess with OBS.
That's what you need.
Oh man, that's huge. No one else does that.
Yeah.
Zoom doesn't do that. Discord doesn't do that. Nobody does that.
Yeah.
So
if you can get that and you can actually like move it and pixel like align where your camera is, you can do so much with like your layouts on stream. The only thing I would say for going with the using the browser source per camera is that you want to be able to do that if you're doing 3D transforms to the scene, like if you have like people's screens on an angle or something like that, which
there's an easier way to do that.
okay.
So you make a scene, you have one browser source, which is your whole layout, right?
Mhm.
Then you go to the other scene where they're going to be, and you create referenced sources to that scene itself. So you add that scene as a source, however many people you have, right?
Right.
And you place each individual scene that you just added into a group. And when they're in their own individual group, you can add filters to the group individually.
Right.
And individual crops as well. But you
Okay.
still only have the one browser source.
I get what you mean. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay, yeah.
That's
It took me
how
a
I
while to
ran
wrap my head
D&D.
around it, but yeah, I gotcha. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. So, again, Finn, people can find Finamenon at twitch.tv/Finamenon and on Twitter and Instagram, right? And Patreon.
Twitter, Patreon. I have Discord subs. TikTok. TikTok is probably my most active one.
Okay.
Though I don't know if that's getting banned or not by the government.
We'll see.
Who knows? Whatever.
We'll
If
see.
it does, I'll move on to something else. It's
Yeah.
cool.
Well, anyway, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. And
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure to have a chat with you. I love it. And definitely be trying to hit you up offline as well for asking a bit more about some of that sound setup and other bits and pieces that we're going to do. But yeah.
I think I can say without ego that I'm pretty darn skilled when it comes to OBS and audio and video. So people are more than welcome to DM me if they have questions, and I will answer if and when I have time.
Awesome.
So
thanks, dude. All right, well, I'm going to go to the starting soon scene, and we'll be back with some gaming and stuff like that. Feel free to hang out and have a chat. I'm going to go refresh myself. Thank you again, Finn. I'll see you again soon, mate.
thank you.
Cheers.